It's fine.
Okay. I guess first of all, we're going to introduce Heather Collins Institute. Heather, we have all our members of our board here and anxious to hear. I know that you've had a meeting with Scott and Bob. And I know that we had two major reasons for wanting to meet with you, and is to, one, help Scott and operations come up with a good method for procuring and running their operations, and also to have more transparency into the account structure so that we can better plan for our capital improvements.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I greatly appreciate you having me and the Collins Center in your meeting. So Happy New Year. So the Collins Center was engaged to look at a rather unique scope. And I got to say, I'm very passionate about this. The golf course runs as an enterprise fund. Like many municipalities have enterprise funds, certainly many do not have golf course enterprise funds. So I understand that there has been some challenges, surrounding operations, and more specifically, the finance and procurement side of how those operations are conducted for Yarmouth. So what we did is we spoke with management. They were very, very helpful, and we put together a very specific scope of work that addresses precisely, we believe, what you're looking to accomplish, which is clarify financial policies and procedures as they relate to golf course operations, but they also should be married to the town of Yarmouth financial procedures that may be standing right this moment when applicable. So that would be the bulk, I would say, of the first phase, if you will, of this particular project scope. And then we were asked to address this other rather unique section of operating the golf course, which is procurement. There is a lot of sole sourced and proprietary procurement practices that have to be conducted with public golf course operations, and aren't necessarily addressed directly with the Massachusetts General Law for 30B, which is procurement of for municipalities. So, designing this idea of a handbook or a manual specifically addressing how the golf course is to go about procuring items or services and falling within municipal law would be the other section of the engagement. So, that being said, I think that the Collins Center team is really excited to go down this road, as this would be sort of our first time delving into the idea of enterprise operations. And I think it will be a wonderfully successful mission. So anything else you would like to know, I'm more than happy to attempt to answer your questions.
I guess the first thing would be timeline of events. How do we get going? What have you talked about this at all? How we're going to get started?
So we had submitted the proposal and the scope of work, which, I did update the draft to make sure I was being more specific even this morning. So a contract would need to be executed with administration and the town for services. Once the contract is executed, and I won't pretend to beat around the bush, sometimes dealing in government, not on Yarmouth's side, I will say University of Boston, sometimes there is a holdup of about, 2 weeks to 3 weeks on getting those things executed. Once that happens, though, we think that we can begin servicing the project almost immediately. We have a team established, and we're excited to do so. We think that it will be anywhere, depending on gathering the information and how the work group goes, anywhere between 6 to 10 months to, really put together a good product.
Okay. Anybody else have questions?
Okay, so as it relates to the contract or the gathering of the information phase, could you go into a little bit more detail about how we can also help you in that process? Because obviously the faster you can get the quality information you need, the better it is, or the faster you can move forward.
Sure.
Do you have any suggestions in terms of how the Yarmouth side should be organized to assist you?
Yes. So, having done this several times with municipalities, that is our specialty. We do leverage the idea of a single point of contact that will be part of executing our contract. Yarmouth will have to name who that person is, and that will be our, liaison, if you will, for gathering and making sure that information is properly disseminated amongst not just the Collins Center team, but against the appropriate stakeholders on the Yarmouth side. Secondly, the idea of a working group would be the other mechanism, which is going to not only maybe provide us information and feedback, but will provide us, the idea of sitting down and having the conversation around particularly some of these more detailed financial policies and procurement operations, because we're going to have to talk about how things occur. So those two things put together, point of contact and the working group, that's how information is going to flow in between Collins Center team and Yarmouth.
Okay.
And do you imagine most of this would also be done remotely?
Yes, the vast majority of our work at the center is performed remotely. We do work in all regions of Massachusetts, and the individuals that are employed by the center, we live in all different places in Massachusetts. Wonderfully, though, I am a Cape resident, so once UMass Boston lifts its protocols surrounding us being able to travel, I would be more than happy to come to Yarmouth. Honestly, it would be lovely to just get out of the house and maybe actually sit at a table with people. I'll even wear a mask, but it's just fine.
Scott, when you were talking yesterday with Bill, was there did he provide you with any additional information about the contract execution and and who the SPOC, the single point of contact would be?
Yeah, so Heather provided this to us this morning, just refining the scope of work after we talked yesterday morning. I imagine Bill's actually going to execute the contract within the next couple of days, and I would probably be the point of contact, as I have the information readily available. Probably rather than going through Bill, it would have to come to me anyway. So,
yep.
And then obviously Bill's there if we need him for anything, for any reason.
I say, Scott, do you have any concerns about being able to have access to other organizations within the town to get the information that might be necessary?
No, I mean, it's probably similar to when Mr. Keaton came in and National Golf came in. They all request a bunch of information. If it needs to go to finance or human resources for any reason, I just send a request and they'll provide the information.
And Bill can help with that if you need to expedite it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not many different. Most of the information we probably already have for them available within our own realm, but if needed, we can reach out to other departments.
Okay.
But I would imagine Bill wants to get it done pretty quickly, so I would hope in the next week or two he executes the contract to Heather, and we can move forward. It might take, like she said, a couple of weeks, but then we can proceed.
Hammer and tong.
That's good.
Heather, do you have any other suggestions based on things that we should potentially either be concerned about? In other words, things that have been roadblocks in the past in other projects, or best practices that if we follow a few, some of the more successful things, what are the keys to success and potentially the key things that we need to be aware of that can slow things down or sidetrack things.
Absolutely. So I won't pretend to speak. I'm fully educated on everything to know about, the enterprise operations of Yarmouth Golf Course quite yet. But certainly from a best practice standpoint, I have found over the years that it's one thing to produce documents and have everyone come to consensus on the language in those documents, like policies and procedures. It is an entirely another thing to actually administer and implement those documents from an educational perspective. So I can't speak any more highly about once we have gone through the process and the heavy lifting of creating these operational, instructions, essentially, that we have to follow through with educating key stakeholders and staff and telling them that this is the expectation and this is really what is going to be the roadmap moving forward. So that's a best practice, and that has been a roadblock in the past that I truly feel passionate about. That is the ending key to really round out any project.
So an endorsement by the selectmen would be valuable, I assume that means.
So that's kind of the plan of attack, if you will. We're gonna work hand in hand with Heather and her team to get the project going and everything they need. And then once they have a pretty good idea of what's gonna occur, we'll bring it to the table to you guys. And then once it's kind of like finalized, we can bring it in front of the board to say, this is how we need to function in the future, and we need to implement this immediately, kind of thing. Like, we need to do it this way. We've evaluated everything. We've done everything. This is the way forward. So I think Heather suggests the same thing probably on how we proceed.
And I'm hoping we can do this in phases.
Right.
And not have to wait the 6 to 10 months to get before we can go before the board.
Is, based on what you know so far, is a phased approach even possible?
I do believe it is. Like I said, I broke it down into two pieces because really you're talking about the financial policies and procedures being the first step. We're going to have to review what the town of Yarmouth currently has in place. I know that they do have documentation. And then we're going to have to figure out from the enterprise account perspective, what needs to be adjusted and what needs to be referenced between the two of them. So that, I think, is phase one, because that's the building block of moving through the accounting and finance perspective. And then the second building block, second phase, if you will be addressing procurement specifically to this enterprise account operations. So to answer your question, yes, I do believe it's phased, and I do believe that deliverables, if you will, can certainly be discussed along the way so as not to, bite off a larger chunk.
We have a specific question related to revolving funds.
Mhm.
One of the challenges that Scott has, I'm sure he mentioned this, was when times are good, expenses rise to service the enterprise. But the traditional budgeting process, municipal budgeting process, really doesn't have a good mechanism for doing that, potentially, other than revolving funds. I don't know if you guys talked about this, but is there a mechanism within an enterprise fund? Is it typical that you would have a revolving fund as well as the enterprise fund? Is that, from a procurement standpoint?
Not so much from a procurement standpoint, it's more from the financial management and accounting standpoint, and it does typically need to be established via town meeting. But I have seen in towns, even though this service might be shared, like for instance, the marina, it may be an established enterprise fund. However, there may also be a revolving fund that addresses some of these more specific issues that come along during the year. So there is two funds that are managed, but under different requirements and regulations. It is possible.
Good. I think that's, I don't know.
I think that's about a good start for now.
I can't tell you how excited I am personally that the town is going down this route, and look forward to working with the Collins Center on this. It's so critical, I think, to our long-term success.
It's absolutely our pleasure. And I got to say, the excitement is reciprocal. This really could be something incredibly helpful for other municipal golf courses out there, or even municipal enterprise type operations. So cheers to Yarmouth.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Ella.
Thank you.
Any other-
Thanks so much, Heather.
you so
Looking
much.
forward to working with you.
And you as well. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll leave further discussion till we get into the actual 3 o'clock meeting. Yes,
This is now the training portion.
now we are into training, moving into our training session. All right, so I'm sorry for the late notice, but if nobody had anything else to do today but watch the open meeting presentation, it was really I thought a really good discussion, not so much the later part of it, where it talks about contracts and then review, but as far as what we need to be doing as a committee and running our meetings, etc.
Yeah,
Everybody's here. Oh.
yeah, everybody's here. So I guess the big question on, the handbook is, again, open meeting law. And I think the other part that we talked about working on was, again, how committees have to operate. So as relates to open meeting law, I think, through practice, we now have all of and you sort of see how Ellen, opens the meetings, they're recorded if they're done Zoom. And a lot of that falls on the chairperson. This obviously Scott, because, he runs that stuff, and the secretary specifically have to make sure that we dot the i's and cross the t's. But again, it's incumbent on everybody to follow those rules. And anybody, did you guys, for those who were part of the last process, we did not have access at that point to a open meeting law presentation that was done by Harwich. So it's a video link.
Okay.
And if you're interested, we can.
I sent it.
So you saw that? It's definitely worth the view. Because I think, again, it just, the big thing at the beginning is if you follow that rule, you don't get in trouble. If you don't, you get in trouble.
And I think you have to be really careful about the pieces behind the big general law about meeting openly is the emailing, the discussions with group and stuff. Let's make sure we stay within the context.
Right, so when Ellen poses a general question or sends out an email, we need to be sure that we reply specifically to the sender, not to all. So
Some
there's two
people are
options.
doing that.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. I don't know if you notice it as much, Ellen, because you're expecting to get one back, but there are several people on the committee who, when they respond to you, I see their responses, which means they must be replying to all.
Correct.
So again, just a best practice, everybody make sure that when you do, when questions are asked or feedback is requested, that it goes directly to the person who is originating the email, not a reply all.
Is that true in any case that comes from Ellen? I mean, if she just asking, if we're to make a meeting.
Yeah, you literally should just always reply just to her.
Just be safe, always reply.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes it, I know it seems a little bit weird, but
Well, that's probably easier than making a distinction.
yeah.
How do you get looped back into whatever conversation's going on?
She would have to loop you back in.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
and
First,
we
there
can
shouldn't be.
have,
First, there shouldn't be any conversation going on. It's just to disseminate information. If there's a conversation going on between two members of the committee, that's that's okay. But it's when it becomes, a quorum, then it's a violation of the open meeting law. So two members, Ellen and I, for instance, could have a discussion back and forth over a topic between the two of us, and that's not a problem. But if every time I responded, it went out to everybody and everybody saw it, and then other people started to participate in it, that's when you get in trouble.
Right. Or we can meet, Richard and I can meet at the maintenance building, have a discussion on something. It is not a quorum. It is a discussion between the two of us, whatever,
You typically for just gathering information,
gathering information. No, obviously, no rules that change. No, there's no votes taken. There's no
decisions.
decisions made. Discussion
no
only.
deliberations. I think the key word is deliberation.
Yeah.
So recently, they emailed suggestions on how to memorialize the loss of, a team member.
Right.
Yes. I think that's kind of,
Okay.
well, I don't
Uh,
know.
You know,
The question was asked, what's your idea? And it's a one-way street.
it's a one-way street.
Okay.
Yeah, because as soon as, again, that email thread could then go into other areas, then you're just asking for it. You know, I
Okay,
think
so back to my original question, how do you get looped back in on what the decision was made?
the person who originates has to be the driver. And in this case, the chairperson and the vice chair in particular really control that agenda
Got it.
and that communication.
And for like that, I said, think about whatever. And today during our meeting, open meeting, we will discuss more of that, of what we would like to do, et cetera.
So, and then that also brings up the 48-hour rule. We have to post the notice of a meeting at least 2 days in advance.
Correct.
And also provide, wherever possible, any of the materials that are going to be discussed in a meeting are part of that, are provided at least 2 days before. And again, available for public dissemination.
And the meetings, the minutes also are to include any materials brought to the meeting and posted after the fact.
So, I mean, I know, so for the next person who wants to be secretary, I mean, that's the other piece of it. It's that job itself has a lot of responsibility related to not just recording the minutes, but also making sure all of the I's are dotted and crossed.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions about that section?
Can I just make one quick comment?
Sure.
Hi. As far as the email is concerned, it's back and forth between one person, but if it goes from one person to one person and then to a third person and then to a fourth person, they consider that serial. And
Yes,
that's
Yes.
not allowed.
Oh, good to know.
right.
Right.
And again, and the only way that would happen if it's really sort of Ellen that falls on her shoulders.
Yes, if I keep sending it back out with the
Right.
chain.
Okay. I'm good.
You guys can certainly email each other. You just can't be discussing
Right, can't be deliberating.
Yes,
golf,
Right.
enterprise stuff.
Right.
Want to email you stuff on other
Yeah,
things,
right.
that's fine.
And also discussions with staff. You have to be careful with that. We had a problem with that when I was in Harwich.
I don't know if you, behind that mask is Dennis Hoy.
No, I was just saying, when we were in Harwich, we had golf committee would come up to try to talk about business prior to meetings and things with staff. And we would always answer when we, whenever we could, but then we had somebody saying that we were setting up before meetings and having discussions about things we were gonna vote on. And we told to kind of be very careful about that.
Right.
So that's something to watch out for, just to throw that out there.
Okay.
So, and again, there is in the blue manual that everybody would have gotten, there's a whole section related to open meeting law that's included in that manual, as well as that. Right?
Yep.
So make sure you read that. there's some specific sections in there also related to things like executive sessions and other pieces. So again, it seems like a little nicety, you blow through it, but then you realize, oops.
One thing about the video, he was really talking about a hearing, and we're not holding a hearing. The video was very informative, and there was a lot you could to get from it, but just keep in mind that he was talking about the legalities of a hearing where you're going to make a judgment or a ruling for a particular issue or policy or person. And we don't really do that. About the only rulings we make is when Scott asks us to rule on refunds for someone who, wants
Yeah, and
their
that's not
golf
really a
fee back.
hearing.
That's the closest thing we do to a hearing.
That's true, Chad. I think really the first half of that video was the most important as far as the weight of it, as far as how to run it, how to keep it in order, making sure that we are not, and I know we violate this sometimes, so it's a good,
Yeah, we've been really bad
reminder.
a couple of times in the past.
yes, we have. There's been some, especially when we first got going with Zoom.
I think everybody violated it.
Yeah, so I have a question about that too, because on page 12, in the back, the last section where about the town of Yarmouth rules,
Yes,
That you have to have
what is
Attendance.
anything? And it said as of the revision date of this document, the town has chosen not to permit any remote participation as may be authorized by the Attorney General. Accordingly, electronic participation is presently prohibited. I don't know if that's something that's still, if I'm reading that incorrectly, or is that something, is there still an issue around that, or are we good?
yeah, we are more than good, since the selectmen are currently using the same technique.
yeah,
All right, I just wanted to make sure because I'm like, oh,
So
okay.
that was probably put in before the governor.
before the governor,
The governor would actually be the one to say that you can't Zoom anymore.
Okay,
So if he expires his order, then he would have to meet in person unless he still chooses to extend it.
okay,
So everybody's in the clear right now until he decides whether or not he wants to extend it or not. I think it goes till April right now.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing they'll probably extend it again. So,
I'm guessing he will too.
all right, thank you. I know that was probably addressed at the beginning where Alan read out, but I just wanted to make sure I was on the same page.
no, that's good. Any questions are good.
Now, the other thing that I was going to, which sort of leads us into page 9. If we go back to page 9.
Of that same document?
Yes.
Document.
Yeah,
Again, this is a practice that not necessarily every committee was following in the past, but it does say that following the annual town meeting, which now is typically scheduled for the spring, so like in April, May, that at that point, every committee is supposed to reorganize. And if you think about the selectmen, they do the same thing.
right.
Right? So as soon as that town meeting is finished, our next scheduled meeting would be, one of the key things would be the selection of the 3 standing officers: the chairperson, vice chair, and the secretary. And again, I think if you read particularly the responsibilities of the chairperson, everybody should tip their hat to Ellen and anybody else who has served in the past, like Ted, because it is a lot of responsibility. In fact, this orientation session is one of her primary responsibilities.
Yep.
And everybody should, and again, I think it's a valuable thing. People should be looking down the road to potentially stepping into these roles. I mean, you don't want to have, sort of a thing where we're just doing, the same people are doing the same thing over and over again. Because it is important, I think, overall, for any organization to have, no one person should be indispensable. And so one of the ways that you do that is you share the load a little bit. So,
And that being said, I think moving forward this year, no matter what title you have, I think we need to create some subcommittees and get going. I know that Doreen and I talked about, she could be a liaison with the tournament committee and make sure we get some more participation, especially from the women's groups and stuff, and do some of that.
I think within the committee itself, a subgroup related, or a group that is sort of more familiar with all of the financial pieces. Certainly I do a lot of research going to other towns and finding, comparable data, as well as, looking at the town's financial data. But again, I think that's something where people who are interested in that specific topic, it'd be useful for perhaps a few more people to sort of hop in on that, so that and potentially sort of become an expert in, fill in the blank. But so that there's more depth in terms of that knowledge base.
And we have Andrew that's been working on the facilities.
Right.
So, it's something to think about. And if you'll notice, when you got, for anyone that was appointed and is a new member of the committee, even though it said like for 1 year or 2 years, everything, your end date for the committee stops in April. So even though, let's see, who was appointed as an alternate, it said for 1 year, but in reality, at the end of this April, that year is over. So you have to resubmit that you wish to participate and continue with the committee in order to be reassigned.
Is that
Reappointed.
timing coordinated with the end of the town meeting, the April?
End of April, yes. So for
So,
instance, your turn
committee-
is up as of
May.
April.
So my term was for 3 years, I believe.
Yes, but it ends in 2024 in April,
Right.
even though you were appointed in January, or February, whatever.
Okay.
Why would the community development be in the waiting room?
That is Scott. That's Bill Scott.
Yes,
Yeah,
I can admit them if you want.
sure. Then we can tell them that we already had the meeting with the.
Yeah, I'll be fine with that.
So I think we. Well, he-
Kind of got. Is he
Whatever.
coming?
If
Maybe
he doesn't need, he probably heard us, they're gone.
Yeah,
Okay,
No big deal.
all right. So moving on, I think that's the two biggest pieces of the handbook, is to think about moving forward, what we're gonna do in April, what chunk of the GEC you'd like to kind of put your hands on, and certainly the open meeting law. So next,
enterprise funds.
enterprise funds. Definition, does everybody understand the definition of an enterprise fund? Any questions about it for the new people?
No,
Everybody's good?
well, I'm good. I'm speaking for myself. I'm just making you know I'm here.
All right. Moving right along for that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Ted, though, I think can provide some unique insights on
History.
the history of the golf enterprise.
Well, yeah.
Mr. Guru.
In fact, Ted, if you'd walk kind of through the history of the enterprise fund and then where we, in the last 5 years, some of the history of what we went through and then different consultants that we had, and then end up with National Golf, et cetera, and where we are now. That, if you can do all that, that would be great.
Okay, all right. I came to Yarmouth about 20 years ago. In fact, almost exactly 20 years ago in 2002. And at that time, there was no enterprise fund. The golf was run out of the general fund. The fee hearings back then were colossal events. The town hall, the meeting room was filled with people. There were arguments over the selectmen wanting to raise fees and saying that golf was losing money. Those were eventually settled when a number of residents who had some financial background looked over the documents and worked with the then assistant town manager, and they got a lot of that straightened away. However, in about 2004, the selectmen got enamored with the idea that some golfers were playing a lot of rounds and therefore had a very low cost per round average, and that it was unfair to the more casual golfer when they would try to get tee times and have difficulty getting those tee times because they felt that the people who were playing all the time had some sort of precedence and an ability to get the tee times that they wanted. So the selectmen came up with the idea of creating a 3-tiered system where you could have an unlimited membership for $850. This is in 2003 or 2004. You could sign up for up to 50 rounds for $650 and up to 25 rounds for $425. And they felt that this would take care of some of the financial inequities that might have been occurring because some people played 200 rounds a year and some people only played 20. They also had issues with the casual golfer not being able to get tee times on weekends. About that time, the Chelsea system came along, and the Chelsea system allowed them to have at that time it was only a phone system, and it had then and still has the lottery system. The golfers did not respond well to this whole concept. And in the fall and winter of that year, they submitted a petition for a special town meeting. And a special town meeting was held in March. And the enterprise fund was created as a way of, to the golfer's point of view, taking control of golf away from the selectmen by limiting their ability to raise fees at 5% a year and reverting to the original fee structure of one standard fee. And that created the enterprise fund.
Hey, Ted, just to interject real quick, do you remember when that special town meeting, the enterprise fund, was any money associated with the fund, or was it just set up and hope and pray?
Just set up and hope and pray, except that in the course of the town
And nothing
meeting,
was moved into the fund?
Well, that
They must have put in some sort of money to operate, right?
Yeah, so for those who are interested in the details of how the economics work at that point, if you look at the basic financial reports for the fiscal year 2006, which I did send everybody, it'll actually show you the transfer between the town and the enterprise fund. So all of the numbers were at that point assigned. So they went through the exercise of actually breaking out revenues, expenses, and debt. And that was and all of that is recorded in the fiscal year 2006 financial statement.
Yeah, because it was like 2004 that they did that, and then they had to set up the enterprise fund, and because of fiscal years and everything else, the exact year that the enterprise fund started and the year in which they had the meeting that set up the enterprise fund, all these things sort of get overlapped and lost in translation. But
Right, but so you're saying like, so say in 2005, say if the course brought in $1 million, they gave them $1 million into the account?
Yes.
now, in the course of that meeting, it also became clear that in the original grant, the original town meeting where they set aside the money to build Bayberry, to take the land and build Bayberry, that it was agreed that the concept that golf would be provided, right, at a reasonable cost to town residents on the basis of the money that was earned from daily fees. And that is still the motto of the Board of Selectmen, that golf has to be self-supporting, that it's provided for the town residents at a reasonable cost because golf earns enough money to pay for itself from the daily fees of the daily, the daily golfers. And that's a concept that many pass holders and people in the town don't understand, that we do not get any money from the general fund. And the whole purpose of the enterprise fund is to as an accounting tool to separate all of golf's costs from the general fund, so that people and revenues can look and see exactly what the costs of golf are to the town. And what the selectmen require is that golf at least break even, that golf is not supposed to be dependent upon the general fund for any of its costs. And it's at that time that concept sort of got better known. All right. Over the course of the next 15 years or so, there was very little debate or discussion about golf at any of the fee hearings. All of a sudden, the fee hearings became oh, gee, they have fee hearings? What? Where they used to be the top, a major topic of importance and discussion, and they all of a sudden disappeared because there was no reason for them. Fees could not rise more than 5% a year. Golf was at least breaking even, if not making money. And things went along pretty well until about 5 years ago, when between a series of incidents, a lightning strike over at Bayberry, some drought conditions, the fact that the course itself was getting a little bit long in the tooth and due for some upgrades. It was decided that a renovation needed to be done. Play was down. The decision was made with the selectmen deciding to speed up the decision. The original plan was to do the upgrade, I think, in 2019, and they actually started in 2017 almost at the insistence of the Board of Selectmen, who thought it was a great idea. But what they failed to understand was that once you started to close down 9 holes of the course, each fall in 2006, I guess it was in 2016 and 2017, and finally opened in 2018, that you were going to suffer some loss of revenue. And that, coupled with some of the declining revenues leading up to that because of the drought and the loss of the irrigation system because of the lightning strike and things like that. We also had the 2008 financial crisis that caused revenues in golf overall to fall. Golf all of a sudden found itself running short of cash. All of the reserves were used up. It was necessary for the town to lend the golf department some money. I think it was about $60,000 the first year and $330,000 the second year.
364.
Yeah. And at that point, the select board decided that they would investigate the idea of perhaps turning golf over to an outside management company. And so they issued RFPs for that. Three companies made proposals. Along the way, in order to investigate how that should work, the selectmen decided to hire a consultant, Mr. Keenan. AJ Keegan, who came in for a $10,000 fee or something similar to that, which eventually probably grew to about $25,000, to study the golf program and make recommendations. One of his first recommendations was that the golf fees, instead of being at that time about $835 or whatever, should be about $2,500. That was not very well received by golfers. And in general, his work was interesting, but it really had a little, he really didn't make any recommendations. It was kind of a waste of money. At that point, the National Golf Foundation was contracted to come in and do an evaluation, and they did a much more thorough and significant evaluation and presented a number of options, most of which Scott has been diligent in making sure that he followed through on, because they were good. And they also basically said that golf in Yarmouth had a significant financial future, that we could make it work, and that has been the direction that things have gone since then. Scott, at the time all of this started, Scott had just been hired as the green superintendent, and the previous golf administrator, Mr. Armentrout, decided that he no longer felt that he wanted to be employed in Yarmouth. His butting heads with the Board of Selectmen and the Director of Recreation didn't sit well with him, so he resigned. And we were fortunate enough to be able to hire Scott to take his place. I think that kind of gives you an overview of where things have gone. The thing is that when Yarmouth set up the enterprise fund for Yarmouth, they included just about every expense you could possibly imagine related to golf as the responsibility of the enterprise fund. Some other towns have enterprise funds, but they aren't necessarily as responsible for all of the the cost, administrative and otherwise, related to golf. So ours is a true enterprise fund, based on what golf has to pay for and what its
And-
responsibilities are.
And on the Cape, how many enterprise? There's only one other enterprise fund.
The only other course that utilizes the enterprise fund methodology for golf is Barnstable. All of the other towns are still operating it as a part of the general fund, although every other town, I believe, has talked about moving to an enterprise fund. Most recently, the selectmen and Dennis questioned whether or not they wanted to set the Dennis one up as an enterprise fund.
Yeah, when Yarmouth set up its enterprise fund, there was an article in the Barnstable Register where basically the town of Dennis bragged about keeping it in the general fund, and basically bragged about being able to keep their fees lower because they were operating out of the general fund rather than being set up as an enterprise fund.
So that is, but you can sort of see that there's at this point, again, just one out of, or there's only two of the municipal courses that are operated as enterprise funds.
Richard, just a question, when an order is placed from the golf committee or golf operation, is it under the let's say the full faith with town of Yarmouth, though, right?
Right.
It's a town of Yarmouth guaranteed purchase order, for
Right,
instance.
if you go back to the article on what is an enterprise fund, an enterprise fund is, again, a mechanism that allows for a separate reporting.
Management accounting.
Basically, it's a management accounting
That's
process.
still all under
Yeah, got it.
Right,
the umbrella.
you are still,
Right.
so the golf department is still subject to all of the state and municipal regulations related to procurement, staffing.
So yeah, this is why bringing in the Collins Center will make things.
I am seeing an enterprise fund for golf used to support the entire recreation department.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of crazy things that go on out there. But I think that is the other part of, I think, Ted, was also when the pricing or when the fee change for residents was brought before town meeting, in part because of, the need to have a self-sustaining capital plan. Again, that was approved quite handily at town meeting. So that was the other thing that happened.
Yeah, there was an assumption when the town was losing its money, and the select board was looking at our committee, the enterprise fund committee. All of a sudden, the enterprise fund committee became someone that the board of selectmen were interested in. For about the first 15 or 16 years of the enterprise fund, the board of selectmen probably had little or no idea of what it was or what they did. And when the financial situation got a little hairy, so to speak, all of a sudden they felt that the enterprise fund committee should be responsible for be more financially responsible and help to guide the program and give them advice. So the role of the enterprise fund committee changed considerably once we ran into that financial trouble. And the town is definitely responsible financially. It's just an accounting tool. That's why they were able to quote unquote loan us the money, which they've managed. At times they said they were giving it to us. then they decided it was a loan. Then it was a loan that we didn't have to pay back. And then last spring, they took back $200,000. So,
Okay, it is 2 minutes to 3, so we should wrap this up shortly.
Right.
Just for quick wastewater, and we can have more depth later, but the Bass River project and the wastewater is still under discussion. There is not at this time, and I just had a chat with the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, who said, I know we still owe you some answers as to what we are doing with relationship to the Bass River and the wastewater. So that is very much on hold, but we can go into more depth later. We really need to wrap this up now and get ready for the regular meeting.
Right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And the,
At 3 o'clock, reread that from the governor.
For the next meeting. Yeah,
To cover it.
yep, yes, yes. Are we still in the same meeting, or did they join
No,
now, or do you have to switch
Yeah, it's
over?
all one meeting, so if anyone comes, I'll just let them in. The
Okay,
whole meeting goes from 6 till 6 o'clock if I want.
okay, so just,
Wait,
oh, yeah, okay.
can't start it early. Start it late, but can't start early.
They gotta put a hold.
So,
on these
so the
things.
orientation session that we just went through is open to the public to view?
No,
We can edit that out, but we put it in there because Collins Center was,
Goes in there, yeah.
so we can edit it out.
Can edit it out. I don't really think there's much. Can we make it as a workshop so that it's a separate, that
Yeah, I'll
they
talk,
could rerun? So if we have new members next year, we could
yeah, I can talk to Trevor.
review this.
The whole thing's being recorded, so.
I changed that. N95 was so uncomfortable,
I can't breathe in them.
Like a
I
diet.
will suffocate.
See, and I can't use those because they go up under my eyeballs.
Yeah.
I still have glasses.
Yeah, that's a problem too.
Do the best I can.
All right, let's switch. Are we 3 o'clock yet?
1 minute. 1 minute.
Wastewater, just to kick that back.
Yes.
Is there more that to know about that? What's the holdup, actually?
I
the
can
holdup
touch
is
on it.
when are they going to actually do the construction?
Well,
Under-
I don't
under
think
the-
they have a general plan yet.
No, they're
Under-
funding,
yeah.
just funded design this year.
Right, so the design is just now in its
Funding.
primary status. So I think it'll be a while before they really can give us an answer.
Under the original plan, Bass River would have been used very early in the process. When the 3 towns were, once they had the wastewater plant built and they started sending out effluent from the
Hey, George,
wastewater
did I
plant,
steal it?
Bass River would have been the first place for it to be
It's
sent.
in-
But now that we're on our own, we still have the wastewater treatment plant in town where they do the sewage systems, the septic systems, and that's where we get the water for the links and that we're trying to bring over to the other side as well. So as they start to do the system in the town, that can handle it. So the need to open up Bass River and do the construction over there isn't as imperative at the start as it was under the 3-town plan. So part of the problem right now is, well, when are they going to start the work? Because we also have problems at Bass River in terms of the irrigation system. Nothing is being done over there really in order to, who wants to go putting money into a course where you're going to rip up a good section of it. So that's the source of the problem right now.
Okay, now it's must be 3 o'clock.
Yep.
All right. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30A, number 18, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing a limitation on the number of people that may gather in one location. This meeting will be conducted via remote participation. Specific information such as instructions and guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town website at www.yarmouth.ma.us. The video will be posted on the town's YouTube page as soon as we are able. Okay, and now we have to have a roll call.
We have a quorum attending in person. Do you still need the roll call? Yeah, might as well.
I think we have
if
to
it's on
just
the
because
Zoom,
it's
yeah.
on the Zoom.
Okay, so two things here, a couple of things. As a public meeting, all of us who are attending in person are required at all times to have face coverings that fully cover both nose and mouth for the entire meeting per the Board of Health. That since it is, that we do have a full, everybody is participating, alternate members are also advised that they should not vote on any matters since all the other members are here.
Okay,
Roll call.
roll call. Ted Deckel,
I'm here.
Dick Donovan, alternate. Frank Fields,
Yeah.
Jay Frappry,
Here.
Andrew Laird,
Present.
Dorian Leviton,
Here.
Richard Simon,
Yes.
Bill West,
Here.
alternate. Ellen Chapman is here. And then we have our guest,
Bev is here.
Bev Arnett.
After what you're saying.
No, absolutely. We welcome public.
How many people you could have in this room.
No, that's all right. We're all safe here.
And Dennis.
And, well, no, Dennis, well, he's actually a member of the golf. committee,
Yes,
so he's a
but-
member of the staff, so he gets to.
Just for note, yes. All right.
Public comment.
Do we have any public comments? Do we have?
I do not. I must be bored to show up here. No. No, I have no comment.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job.
Ooh, I like that comment.
That's a good comment. All right. Moving right along, approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, additions?
I'll make a motion to
Deletion.
approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Roll call
Roll
vote.
call. Ted,
Aye.
Dick, oh no, he's an alternate, sorry. Frank,
Okay.
Jay,
Okay.
Andrew,
Aye.
Doreen,
Yeah, aye.
Richard,
Yes.
Ellen, yes. All right, those have passed. Okay, now we can talk about any discussion on the Collins presentation. We know we are going to be putting together a contract to work with the Collins Institute to have a review of financial practices for the golf that best meet getting total visibility into what we need so we can plan our capital improvements and our basic operations, and also to get better analysis of how to best procure and keep operations going at a better pace.
So on that front, we have basically 5 topics that we're hoping that these guys can work on. Procurement, especially specifically sole source procurement, and also the pace of payment, because we oftentimes do not have the advantage to take advantage of prompt pay discounts. Revolving fund, and we did specifically ask them about the revolving fund within the enterprise fund. So everything from pro shop merchandise, handicap fees, card fees, gas card operations, I mean, all of that can be handled in a revolving fund which would then insulate the variable component of the golf's expenditures into a separate revolving fund. So if, as business goes up, the revenues goes up, which you can feed into the revolving fund, and that takes care of the increased cost.
Does that help deal with the budgeting problem where you have a budget for the pro shop of only so much, but if all of a sudden you need more money because demand has gone up, so you need to buy more products, but you can't buy more products because you only had that much money in the budget, does the revolving fund solve that problem?
Revolving fund exactly is intended to solve that problem.
And
now
I,
there's
and I
other-
do believe it is not, does not have to be approved of by the town meeting.
I would say
Is
let
that
Dennis
correct?
address
Let
that.
Dennis-
No, I had one in Harwich. There's multiple types of revolving funds. So when you first go to set one up, you have to be extremely careful about which one you pick. Some of them have thresholds, like the end of the fiscal year, they sweep the account if you're not careful, if you don't properly. There was one they set up initially for us in Harwich that you could only have $10,000 in the account at the end of the fiscal year. So if we had, no, they tried to do that the first time and I said, we can't work that way. But also when you set up the revolving account, you gotta really be specific on everything you can purchase out of. You have to list exactly what you can buy, what you can't buy, which, everything in a pro shop.
Right,
And then
we-
what you can spend it on. What we did with our revolving fund was very helpful, is we put golf course advertisement spending inside of the revolving fund. So when we had extra money, we took money out of the revolving fund to advertise for the entire facility. So it was a good way to.
Makes sense.
So that is actually, I think, one of the key things that we're probably going to get out of this. Then there's the whole area of direct allocations. So everything from pensions, health insurance, payroll taxes, property and casualty insurance, the formulas for that, direct interdepartmental services that are provided for the golf department, say from IT or facilities, or services that are provided by the golf department for other parts of the community, for example, the Homer Park maintenance. Indirect allocations for town support would be another piece of this. And then another category is some of the miscellaneous things, for example, wastewater fees and potential restatement of prior periods based on errors and omissions.
Good luck on that one.
No, restatement is just restatement. If you go back and look at the basic financial statements, they've already restated the enterprise funds at least 3 times.
Okay.
So those are the specifics.
I have a question on the revolving fund. To get one in the works, it has to be approved by town meeting, correct?
It does.
So we would have to have an article for that by April, March?
No, it's not going to happen this April.
It won't happen.
It
right?
wouldn't happen this year anyways, because we've already submitted our budgets for FY '23. So it's,
You really,
we'll focus on for the next year. We'll let them do this work. Maybe it'll be done in time for October town meeting, where you put it in before the budget cycle hits.
Just get it approved before the next cycle.
right.
Okay,
So once it's there, we can start budgeting it accordingly, but the thing to take out of this is I've talked to her a few times now that she's very good, and we want them to do the work properly. If it does take a few months, let it happen, don't rush it, let it go through the whole right process. We'll go as quick as we can, but this is pretty in depth of what they're gonna do for us. I'll go over it again with Bill tomorrow at some point and we'll get it finalized, but it's everything pretty much Rich has said and what you heard there today to get us all on the right page going forward. And when I mean right page, we have a lot of issues, we deal with Titleist golf balls and town hall thinks we can buy them from anywhere. We just can't, and the arguments get ridiculous and it's just not worth the fights anymore.
Well, or things like, parts for tractors.
Right.
Which are, guess what? They're,
Well, she hit it on the point, Heather hit it on nail on the head really. Golf is a weird business and stuff. A lot of the vendors we deal with all have some type of contract usually within the area, so we can't just call a place in California to ship us a part, even though it may be cheaper, because the contract is associated with New England. So they'll tell you, no, you can't do that, you gotta call them. So it's just, and town hall doesn't understand that. They understand 3 quotes, you better get 3 quotes. And I say, well, it doesn't really matter because I can only buy it from them. So they have a hard time dealing with us. We have a time dealing with them. We have a lot of issues with Pro Shop on all that stuff that's being proprietary. We can only get it from certain people, otherwise we can't sell it. So, and she understands that being business, and that's why it's difficult to run a business when it's municipal government. So we want to fix all that so that we can get along with town hall a lot easier.
Right, makes sense. And it makes sense to let this process play out, because much like the National Golf Foundation report, once, it's that outside expert comes in, and it's a lot easier for the selectmen then to say, oh, we're just following the professional's view on it.
Right. And we want to stop running money out of the pro shop, even though we're making a ton of money, so I can keep fixing things on the golf course. Otherwise, you're gonna shut Dennis off from buying stuff. So we'll stop selling stuff if you want, but that wouldn't go well.
Now, what about you're gonna be the SPOC, the single point of contact?
Yeah.
What sort of working group do you envision?
That would be, it'd probably be myself, Bill, Heather, and maybe one of you guys that will do that when we get to that point, when they're ready to do that point.
Right.
But for now, it's just gonna be here, we need this, we need that, and then they'll get to a point where here's what we got for you, let's get together. I'm sure there'll be a few of those, but when we talked to Heather yesterday, she mentioned bringing in 1 committee member as part of the working group. And then it would be best to bring what we got maybe every couple months to the table and see give you an update over here where we're at with everything. So
Sounds good.
this kind of situation gets a little more problematic. The more hands involved, we need to tighten it up so that everybody's on the same page when we present something to somebody. But it'll definitely come to you guys first as a group, and then we'll present it out to other people.
Okay, anybody have any comments or questions?
I just have a comment. In the past, I went from like a central group into running a business unit where I ran business unit where we did this. And I think the execution that she talked about is critical. Because in the end, you're gonna have to say who's gonna do what. It's gonna have to be maybe an interface document, whatever you want to call it.
Right, memo of understanding.
Yeah, MOA, whatever it is, it's gonna have to be clear because the central organization is, just by nature gonna say, well, that was your responsibility. We gave that up because you got the person or you got the money or whatever it is. So I think that's got to be clear. Recommendation to me, anything dies in execution, right? I mean, strategies,
Right.
but execution. So it's just
Oh, hi.
it's a
Well, you
very
guys are hard to
critical one. I
find.
know you're sensitive.
Right, and we actually have already queued up some talks with procurement and finance to let them know we're going down that road, because they're having difficulty with us as well, obviously, because they have certain rules to follow. We have certain rules to follow, so it's a matter of getting everybody, so we all have a way to work together so that we can all be successful. Like right now, we butt heads with finance almost daily, then procurement, and it's like a 3-way fight until we figure out how to this one bill.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
$3.
yeah, 4 months later,
4 months later.
so that person's pretty happy. So
Getting her recommendation on how to get that documented without creating huge amounts of work, like 300-page documents on how to pay a $20. I mean, it's going to be a real trade-off.
Right, absolutely.
Good job.
All right,
And again, I think we owe Bill Scott
yes,
a thank you for getting this organized and getting it kicked off as probably for this town in potentially record speed.
the can has not been kicked down the hill. It is.
Well, it's only been 20 years.
Well, it only took 20 years. Okay.
But we have new players and they're doing really well. Got it. All right, let's talk about tea time bookings, the annual fee updates, and as well as how the new system is going so far. And I know that Scott handed out.
You two are up behind me.
Whoops.
So far, I think it's been going fairly well. I mean, there's a couple hiccups here and there as you go, about making sure the right parameters are set up. Which you don't find out till someone goes in and use the system. But overall, it seems fairly easy to use, for most everybody that's used it thus far, although obviously the weather hasn't been great, so it's been quiet, which is actually a good thing, because then you start to find out what's working, what's not working, and I guess the feedback from the people who use it so far has been pretty simple to use from what I've been hearing, so.
Overall, like, I agree with you. I had a couple of things come up, and I don't know if you've heard of them. Just, the first one was the buddy list didn't come over, correct?
No, you have to put
You
a
have
new
to
buddy
create,
list.
you have to create your new, a new
Yeah.
buddy list, yeah.
I did go in one time and I tried to set up a foursome, and 3 of them I had already put in, and I was doing I guess the experiment that we had.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
that worked out okay, but one of the other people wasn't on the list yet. And I didn't realize till after I had already said the selection, it didn't let me go back to be able to add them to the buddy list and then go use that. So I
Yeah.
kind of got stuck. I just put the name in, and thank you, Becky, for just letting me know. But I guess you can't do that. That's
Right.
one thing.
Yeah, you,
So you
thing
have
is,
to have a buddy in the list.
buddy
already
list has to
before
be
you-
the first thing you do, yeah.
okay,
And it's even if people you randomly play with from time to time,
Right.
better to put in as many people as you can. And that way they're always gonna pop up when you.
And if you do go select the name, it doesn't pull up their number or information. So they look like a guest.
Yeah.
That was the one.
Excuse me, or what you're saying is that basically you'd really need to use the buddy list. With Chelsea, the buddy list was really kind of an optional thing.
Yeah.
It was
Well, if you're gonna play
actually
with. if
faster
you're playing
to
with-
just put in a guy's name if they're a member and, a pass holder when you were trying to get a tea time, sometimes than trying to work with the buddy list. But what I basically understand you to be saying is that you really need to use the buddy list.
Have to.
You have to,
You
yeah.
have to, because if you don't, it's gonna charge you a greens fee. For
Oh.
a member, if you don't put in the member's name, or put the member on your buddy list, it will automatically charge you a greens fee, as if you were playing with a guest.
So.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. So if you try to put in, if I put in Nick White's name without taking him off the buddy list, then it's going to assume that Nick White is some other Nick White rather than the Nick White who's also
Correct. Yep.
a pass holder.
Exactly.
And, okay, it's always nice to know how computers logic works.
Yeah, I tried to put in like Tom Killian and hoping it would pull up his number, and it didn't do that. So I left his
Yeah.
name in.
Yeah,
But-
that's the way Chelsea used to work. And so we're probably going to have some problems with people doing that. And we need to try and make them aware that you have to take the names off the buddy list.
Well, that's why we kind of started this now, so
Yeah.
that when you guys give us some feedback, we can compile a list and send it out saying, here's what you do in these situations. So that everybody's aware when they're starting to fire up in March and April, when they're a lot more busy, how you guys book at tea time. So
And as long as we're flexible and we understand, it's can't be up now, because I couldn't go back and change it. I tried to edit it too, and I couldn't edit it. So you're being very flexible now, and that's the important part. And that I learned. So now I know.
right. And it's learning on our end too, so that we know what to do as well. So like when we get maybe next month, we'll send out a list of here's a couple of things we noticed
I just
along the
put that
way.
on the newsletter. We should.
So make sure you do it this way as to book tea time properly.
Yep. The good news is that people I've talked to said that since they've gone in and entered stuff in the new system and filled in their contact information stuff, they are now getting the memos and the blurbs that are coming out.
I actually called on marketing.
Oh,
Told them
okay.
that we were having problems, so they did a reset on it.
Oh,
So I
perfect.
think that's why it's
Oh,
getting
maybe,
emails now.
okay, but for whatever reason, a lot more people are getting them now, so
I,
that's,
I didn't get the year-end stuff, you know.
Oh.
And Dennis has
We
tried,
just did this after the first of the year, so we haven't sent any emails out since. then.
I was gonna say, because Dennis tried a couple times and I understand the system and then there's marketing.
No, I just did it last week.
perfect.
I've gotten an acknowledgement that I'm registered and I have membership.
Okay.
So, which sort of brings you back to the big question. So how, I mean, the key for this obviously is those two things, getting your login set up and getting your buddy list set up. So is there any reason why we shouldn't be pushing hammer and tong now to get people to do that?
They have to.
I know they have to, but I'm saying, but really sort of, you know, sort of reinforcing it.
There's no reason why we can't do it. I would say the best way to do it is, I'll get with Becky and Dennis and we'll come up with a list of all the things we noticed so far and we'll send out a list of saying, here you
Yeah.
go, this is the way we've seen some things. So if you come into this problem, here's what you do, here's what you do, here's what you do.
Well, on the next newsletter is just to say also, have you signed up yet?
Because there's no reason to wait until you renew your membership.
Correct,
Because the membership goes.
Right.
yes,
Yeah,
Right, you
'cause the
you
membership
can do it
goes
right
to-
now,
yeah.
you're a current member right now.
but we
so-
can do a reminder out there
But
for
there's also
them.
instructions on the
Yeah.
website, showing
Yes.
how to log in and how to
Yeah.
do it, and there's step by step by step.
Oh, and they're great.
Yeah, but it's the point of that, I think a lot of people are sitting out there that I'm playing golf now.
Right.
And rather than having them all wait till May, or especially all the ones that get back from Florida or
So we want
whatever.
to tell them to practice.
Practice, get it set up
Practice on the
now.
website.
Yeah,
Yeah,
get your buddy list set up now.
yes.
People from Florida have called up and they have said.
Oh, excellent.
But you need, do they need to be members to be on your buddy list?
Yes.
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 But do you see any benefit gained by having classes, scheduling classes?
So this goes back to the ad hoc. So you guys have set up sort of the hands-on training sessions at the pro shop, right? You have some laptops or tablets?
iPads.
Yeah,
iPads.
iPads, but I mean, I've had a couple people that have walked in, so I've, you know, come over here, come on around, and then let me show you, do click, 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 and they
Anybody
go,
that's.
oh, okay. you know.
Coming over with us. and we'll
Yeah,
have them.
if they walk in, we're
Good
really
time for
happy
them
to
to
help
walk
them.
in.
Yeah, it is,
It
yeah.
probably only takes 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quick, and
Excellent.
usually it's a problem because with the password, and once I reset their password, they're golden, so.
Yeah. Wow.
I
Why
think
don't
I
we do
talked, I
like,
think you
uh,
called me, actually.
So I called you, but I have had a problem, but I think it's me, not you.
Yeah.
Oh, why don't we do like this till next month, where it's slow, but you will approach it.
Sure.
I would ask, if one thing we could do between now and the next meeting, well, maybe not next meeting because it's quick, but maybe by March. I still have a concern about how it's gonna work once we get volume in there and people that play a lot versus those that don't. And I know you had some ideas on how to address that, but if you could just outline those for us, that, you know, at that meeting, in March, I'd appreciate it as maybe an item we can put on the list. I'd rather be prepared for what we're gonna do, if there's some things we can do, than to wait. That's fair.
Is there an app for this, like there is for the Chelsea?
I mean, on your, like,
Is that okay? Are you-
Sure.
Yeah.
I know they threw out some ideas. I'd just like to hear what they are.
You just have to go through the golf here on the website.
So on the website, if I'm a single, there's no ability on this new system to go up here and try and find
There is now.
a threesome.
We
Oh, there
we
is.
had to correct that.
Oh, okay.
That's still not working.
That's
right?
still-
We're
I tested it
working
today.
on
I'll
it.
say, so
I
that's
tested
fine.
it
So,
today.
so I would be able to, if I wanted to
Yes.
golf tomorrow,
Yeah.
I'll find 3 buddies out there.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Already have
That's,
it.
that's what the plan is. We're just trying to get it to work.
Oh, I know,
You
yeah,
can find
working bugs, you know,
What
Yeah.
you saying now?
We might be able to-
Yeah,
we have to
Yeah.
be patient, I know.
I put that one in as well.
Where they can do all
There's one.
But Sue,
It's through like a third party, another,
Put in
you know, it's not like theirs, it's like a step, they all install it. They
Is
can do all that,
Would that one- or would that be one?
it's one to
One to
one,
one.
but now that, so if you guys want to contact them, we should be able to fire that up.
I don't know this, but does the system list handicaps? No, okay.
That's another,
Separate system, isn't it?
yeah, and, you know, again, MGA, I think in terms of handicaps, MGA is trying to sort of put themselves in the driver's seat.
Well, Mass Golf is, so then let Matt elaborate.
Yeah, Mass Golf is doing all the signups for handicaps now. We're not gonna do it through the pro shops any longer.
Oh.
So we're gonna put a link, we're gonna send out the next week. that
Oh,
has an
excellent.
actual link that you click, will take you right to the Mass Golf website, and they're gonna charge $55 to everybody in every course across the whole state.
So is that taking revenue
Yeah.
away from us?
What's that?
No.
Is that taking
No.
revenue
I
away?
don't know, because
No.
what the difference is now, before what would happen, as soon as someone would
Pain away
join,
from you,
Right.
isn't it?
they would send us a bill and we'd have to send them a check.
Ah.
Now, they collect it and they send us a check for the difference. between
Oh, okay.
What, yeah, so it's actually much easier
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and there's gonna be a link, you just click it and they'll say, join Bass River Bayberry Hills, MGA, click,
I was gonna
pay
put,
and you're off.
I was
Not
gonna put
gonna
a
take
flow
checks
listing
from
on
it?
our website today, and I just ran out of time, so. I'll get to that tomorrow.
So
Say, go to, Mass Golf, register for your gym.
we're also gonna work with IT to get an iPad at each place, and we'll just have the USGA, app. so you guys can
Oh,
put on your
excellent.
doors.
That's a good
So
idea.
we need to make sure it's properly mounted, and
Yeah.
no one walks away with it.
Yeah.
'cause You never know.
Yes, yes, for sure.
That's already part of the queue, so hopefully we'll have that ready to go when.
So
fire
we,
back up.
so we've stopped taking fees now. So now we're not registering any new, what if someone wants to join the course now? And we don't have the new rates?
Didn't go through in the last.
They just have to
No, it
wait.
hasn't
So
gone through.
right now, we're
Are
not
we
taking
not
any
taking new members,
new
correct?
members at this point because we hopefully will be in front of the board next.
On the
couple weeks.
25th.
Didn't get any notice that we were. in front
We're
of them,
not on the 25th. I mean,
so I think they got delayed with a couple.
Did we get
things.
bumped from the agenda? Is that what happened?
Yes.
Well,
But in this thing, I believe we got pushed back because of what happened in golf. We did lose a member of our team to an unexpected death. So I think that was more Bob probably trying to cut us a break here for a minute to let us reset. But I will talk to Bill tomorrow to get us on. So there's only gonna be like a 2-week lag before we get in front of them, finalize whatever it is.
and do we have another presentation put together of what they are looking for?
I have like a working one ready to go. I'm just gonna have to work with Bill on it and see
Okay.
what they might want at this point, because I think it works good, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, you were talking with Selectman Forrest.
Yes. And he say that he felt that we needed to work with Bill and Bob and get something put together that they know they're looking for. So,
I'll touch base with Bill tomorrow
okay,
and then we'll figure out what they were on the agenda and we'll get something together. We'll share it along. Hopefully we'll go in front of them quick and easy and get it over with.
yeah, and then we could start advertising
Correct.
the new, not only the rates, but the fact if we get to have the new twilight fee, which would be a great thing.
So the links people, will they be able to upgrade? I mean, we've always said the links people could upgrade to regular memberships at any time, right? I assume that also applies to the Twilight Pass. They could upgrade to the Twilight Pass.
Oh yeah, we wouldn't let anyone upgrade, right? In the past.
Upgrades are good.
Just pay the difference, is that
It
the?
wasn't allowed in the old regime.
Did last year.
No, we-
What we did last year.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to
Yeah.
turn your links into an annual, we definitely let that.
Yeah, why
happen.
not? It's-
We
don't
don't
let it go
we
the
don't
other
let-
way,
We
though.
don't let it the other way.
Right.
Right, that makes sense.
You can't downgrade again.
Yeah,
But it would be the same thing with a Twilight if they wanted to upgrade. We could do that as well.
Hey, not for nothing, but does the presentation show and document any of the increases that obviously happen with fertilizer or any of the services?
We didn't really get into that as well, but at this point, we need to get into all that and the rate of increases we've seen on fertilizer, chemical, steel is through the roof.
Sure,
Um,
inflation's through the roof.
So our expenses have dramatically increased. I think it's more of a lack of understanding how on the select side, how the whole budget works. You know, we want to end up having the money reserved for capital, but it's about building up the budget enough so that when the end of the year, we have the money.
Have your vendors given you any indication of increases?
Oh, we've already gone through a 7% increase from our steel vendors, and another one, 2% happened just 2 days ago. Fertilizer's gone up 150% on some of them.
Yeah.
Seed has gone up almost 500% because of all the problems out in Oregon. So chances of getting seed are actually very slim at this point. But everything's out of control, and there's,
Yeah.
I mean, we get notice daily that this went up, that this went up, that.
Gasoline, everything.
Site one doesn't even honor their, if they give you an offer or a bid or say, you know, you just take it now,
Right.
because it may change.
And that's the unfortunate part, like, I bought a lot of stuff this year on early order, more than usual.
Sure.
So, we should have enough fertilizer and chemical to get through pretty much August, maybe even the year, depending on the year. Normally I only buy till like through June to get to July 1, we have a new year to start, so. We stocked up pretty good while before the increase happened. One of them already happened, but
yeah,
we did everything we could to be ready.
Sure.
Elliot ordered a lot of stuff on the maintenance end before that price increase happened, but I mean, you can't predict what's gonna break and what's not, so it just kind of stinks. We're all in a tough boat. Never been higher for golf to run. I'm not sure on Dennis's side or Becky's side what they're seeing, as much as I'm not involved as much as they are on that, but they could give you an update on that as well. If you guys don't mind.
Sure. As far as the pro shop stuff you're talking?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Golf clubs.
well, golf clubs, golf balls, they're all going up considerably next year,
If you can get them,
if you can get them.
no, if you can get them.
That's still an issue, going forward. And also, even when I was driving over here tonight, I heard that, gas prices by spring are gonna be over $4 a gallon.
Sure.
That's 50 cents a gallon.
Right.
In gas before springtime this year for everybody.
We got them energy efficient cards, right?
No, that's also another part of your cost going up. So.
Oh, that went down in your budget?
Yeah.
I think one thing, the board is having this hard time understanding that just because we have retained earnings of a good number, that we still need to have a capital plan that's going to eat into this stuff. And that's where they're coming from. Why do we need to increase the membership fees when we've got this chunk? And they want to see more detail about the capital plan. Even
I
though
know, I'm just,
inflation itself isn't going
Exactly.
to
And
cover
there's
the
so many
5%.
red flags telling.
Yes,
Not only do you have future planning to consider, you get cost of living going out of control.
yes, yeah. But that's where they are with that. So as far as, I know we got a report on membership.
Becky, I think, did an update, so might not be completely accurate.
I love it when she does an update.
Want to start with memberships?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. So here. This is through today.
Hot off the presses.
Yes, for sure. Mhm.
Thank you, Becky.
And as you can see, we did have some people that upgraded.
yes.
Got 9 new annual members, which is great. And one of our previous, he was a Lynx member and he upgraded to an annual membership.
Yeah.
And then we had a non-resident who was previously a Lynx person and he upgraded to a non-resident as well. And the Lynx memberships are doing well. 6 new Lynx memberships so far for the year.
Wow.
When they say new, like that, and then they weren't here last year?
They were not.
Correct.
Yeah, they're brand new.
So we got 19 new seniors?
No, that was
No.
Okay.
overall that have
Okay.
signed up. There's no new seniors. No new seniors.
Say demographics. Oh, That number
Senior
too.
level again, what's
Ah, my revenue was
75?
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're off to a healthy start.
Becky did it, yeah.
I'm in this number right here.
Oh, okay.
New member.
Very interesting, our online, the online.
Put me on your
Yeah,
113,000 have come through the pro shop, so we're about $250,000 in already.
Which is, which is about a quarter of what we had sort of put in as an estimate. So that's,
It worked.
it worked.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's, I wanna put the point here that online is a very good provider for everybody. So you don't need to be in the area by your membership. I believe we're the only course.
You are.
So, I think when we're starting to sell memberships in the future, we need to highlight all the things we offer in Yarmouth that comes with your fee. You can do it online, do it, you don't even need to come into us, we can take care of it there. It's actually more secure for you to do it online. So, and we take care of that cost built into the membership fee, so.
Yeah.
Start highlighting what we bring to the table a little bit better.
Have you seen anecdotally, people who are joining multiple courses this year? That's what I was,
yes.
Absolutely.
yeah. See, this is something that I'm hearing from a bunch of folks. I was talking with Mike over in Harwich the other day. And so what's happening is people are, because of the challenge of getting tea times, people who can afford it are joining multiple courses. So they can balance out their.
Well, in theory, if you think about it, you could join 3 golf courses for about $4,000.
Yeah.
Which is much cheaper than getting private club and
Yeah, if that.
and then you shoot out and try for tea time beach, you have a good shot.
Right.
So if you have the money.
I'm not sure it improves your tea time access.
or you could just play in the afternoon at Yarmouth and get a tea time.
That too. But I think that's a new,
That's a smarter approach.
Twilight.
I think that's a new dynamic, certainly that I anecdotally was seeing.
Yeah.
People are starting to join those who are avid golfers are starting to take advantage of that.
And I could see it, again, if there's some way that, you're not guaranteed, but there's a way to make sure you get a certain number of tea times at each course. That we took that away, so. I
Yeah.
was wondering how that would play.
What's that? Like if you join multiple,
Well,
it just increases your odds of getting one, like say you put it in for every place that day, just
Right.
increasing your odds.
but that same time of day and prime time has always been bad.
Oh, yeah,
True.
So
and that's always gonna be
My
the
point
problem.
is that there's not a way to make sure that somebody gets a shot.
Well, again, the other courses are.
Right, valued.
The other courses continue to use Kelsey.
Right.
So by definition, if you don't play much, you're gonna have, well, at least in the other courses, because the other courses also have block times. So in Harwich, they're up to blocking, they block 60% of the weekends and 70% of the weekdays for members. In Dennis, it's 50/50.
That's gonna be great for revenue. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't even go there.
I agree.
No, it's not.
And in Cranberry, it's 40%. It's
But
blocked for members. So that's how that works.
That's gonna push more people this way.
I would think.
Yes,
That's why a lot of people that I knew that were members when I was at Cranberry are now saying they're gonna come over and join the army.
right. As a second course.
Correct.
Right. So I love it.
Point is, it's gonna push daily fees this way, more than anything.
Yeah.
Because they're already blocked at a high percentage on the weekends and in prime time,
Well,
so.
that's what I noticed.
Or
the
they'll
last
join,
couple
or
of
they'll
years.
join here too.
We had a lot
One
of
or the
people
other.
that.
Yeah,
were
that's,
Another.
Yeah.
coming to play.
My point is to,
Okay,
we're not.
okay, agree and stay.
Right.
Great job.
all right.
Question,
Oh,
credit cards, credit card fees. I played at, I believe it was Dennis. And they don't accept American Express.
Right.
And I don't know if that's something, we're accepting everything, right?
Yes.
And I don't know what the difference is between.
It's
the
a higher-
express.
higher
I know it's a
fee.
higher percentage.
We're with Payrock now because of Club Profit, and they kind of take a lot of the heat off of us for American Express. When we were with Chelsea, Transamerica, whatever it was,
Yeah.
That's first.
it's a little more difficult, but we accept them all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
But there's actually a lot of places that are not accepting American Express because it's a higher
We
rate.
didn't accept
It
it.
seems to go through cycles with businesses, and stuff, you know, restaurants and everything, so.
It is one of the higher rates.
And I've also heard you can work with them to,
Well, that's,
their
I mean,
fees
for
down.
us on our side,
Yeah.
we just have to work with Payrock
Yeah.
and they will take care of all the other issues
Yep.
for us.
all right, now to the big issue is the league play. Reminding everybody, they're just discussion this today. But next month, we will make some recommendations and vote on it, et cetera. But let's throw everything out on the table of what we want to discuss.
Want to handle it?
Do it if you want. The recommendation for the league play next year is, to start off with the men's and women's groups is to move from the 6:30 a.m. start time to a 9 a.m. start time. Same amount of players, but be a little bit later in the morning.
And the rationale or reasoning for that,
Is to avail the morning times for other members.
hey, I remember the saying.
Yes, yeah, but still trying to keep it at a time where it's
Oh,
still
yeah.
fair for the members to play, so.
And
Well, I know a lot of people who didn't want to play at 6:30 anyway, so.
No, it was, I would say it's probably like a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
A lot of people did not like getting up that early and, you know. So,
did we,
I would-
did you
That's all.
just, did you not further discussion about some play in the afternoons, especially in July and August? I didn't see that on the sheet, so I was wondering, is that,
We didn't want to do that right off the bat. Just because it would have been,
I don't think the plan on our side is, we're definitely not against that. It's more like, let's evolve into that.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, like, here's where we're gonna go this year, and next year, let's do maybe every other in the afternoon or something like that. Let's not completely flip the ship upside down one
okay,
year and create complete chaos in 1 year. Although we've done that a lot, but
Will there be an
And-
option for an
Yes.
afternoon league?
we can certainly do that. We don't have
There's
a problem with it.
something new.
I know the Women's League had talked about once a month doing a afternoon with a birthday celebration after in the clubhouse and stuff.
We're not against that. No.
So
no,
that would be
Oh, that's
amenable
very-
to you guys, right?
Yeah.
We would need to know.
Yes, obviously
ahead.
ahead of time. No, it wouldn't be a shotgun, it would be a regular setup, but in the afternoon play so that everybody would be arriving, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
We
hanging
would,
around the clubhouse.
we would need to know quite a bit in advance, so we make sure we
Okay.
block the afternoon off for that day.
Have you put together any tentative schedule yet?
No, I think everybody's waiting to see what
Right.
is
And
gonna
then-
come out of
Yeah.
operations as
Well,
to
and
what
then,
they're going to do.
Sunday, the Sunday groups at Bass River would be moved to after 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the 9 o'clock groups, the men's and the women's, the Wednesdays and
Mhm.
Tuesdays. They'll still get their whatever allocation.
Just later.
Is that a shotgun?
No.
No, okay,
No, they
so
just teach them.
foursomes at a time. Is
Is
there
it,
a cap on the number of,
There is, yeah.
Yes. The
Last
men-
year, men was what, 72?
Men was
72.
18, men is
Okay.
18 foursomes, and the ladies are 15 foursomes.
Is there
72
gonna
for
be a-
women, 72 for men?
No, 15 foursomes for ladies. and
Okay.
18 foursomes
No,
for
60
men.
and 70.
We actually upped it for the men because they had a lot of,
Yeah, early in the
members.
season.
They-
so we gave.
They always used to have 15 and 16. And we actually gave them a couple more times.
Is there openings?
Is there gonna be a problem
They
with
have to be-
starting
They
the,
have to be.
oh,
open to
1
all.
minute, 10, let me,
Are there openings? Yes. So what you do is fill out some paperwork, which I have at the pro shop, and then I can forward it to the gentleman who's in charge of memberships for the 60s, and then he'll get in touch with you.
Okay,
They need to be, they know the rules. It's open to everyone.
got
They
it.
can't,
Who's a member?
right, they can't block you out. And if you so are getting blocked out, you need to let us know. So we can deal with that problem. But they've been very good
Yeah,
with knowing the
yeah,
rules.
great. They're great with everything.
Okay.
Ted, recognizing you.
Is there going to be a problem with starting the 9-hole groups on the back 9 at the same time? If you're starting at 9 o'clock, I'm assuming that you're
Yeah,
going to have tea times from 6:30 until just before 9 o'clock.
They have. to
Whoever
stay
those
at the
people
same
are,
time.
they're going to be on the back 9 at 9 o'clock.
No, they have to stay at the same time, Ted, because it wouldn't work otherwise. Or they would have to get moved to the afternoon.
Well, but how are you going to start them at 9 o'clock on the back 9?
No, they
No,
start at
sorry,
6:30.
the First tea time of the day,
For the 9-hole.
first tea time of the day on the back.
That's not clear from what it says here.
I must have missed it.
Yeah, it's in place that concurrently with the women.
Right.
It says they're starting
That was me, I
concurrently
know.
with the,
I missed an edit, Ted, that's me, I missed the edit.
Yeah, that would. yeah.
so
Yeah.
the, so the 9 holes,
Catch, Ted.
so you're going to have to start the 9 holes at some
At
time,
6:30.
either
At
at
6:30.
6:30 or start them at some time before before anyone who starts on the front 9 could get there.
Before they make the turn.
Yeah.
And we don't want to run into the same problem we had before, where you had people teeing off. The first couple of groups teeing off were then running into the back of the 9-hole ladies and finding they had a 2-hour back 9.
Actually, the last couple of years, the 9-hole ladies have been playing
Real fast.
real fast.
Yeah, but
I put the-
remember,
I put the
we
beer line in
had
there.
a couple of members come to a meeting once and discuss the fact that,
They had a 2-hour back time.
we're running into that situation. Now, maybe the numbers in the 9-hole ladies have gone down. There aren't as many
Yeah.
of them perhaps, or whatever. So
Yes.
they're
There's only
able
the-
to move along faster because
they're
there's
few
not
and
as
far
many tea
be-
times.
They're few and far between now, Ted.
Do you utilize the links for leagues? No,
No.
okay,
Yeah.
Because you have to, it takes longer to get that prep in the morning.
I see, okay.
All the leagues are at Bass River.
Right. and the two-
Oh,
the two-
I didn't know that, okay.
Yeah.
All the leagues are Bass River.
So the two, same thing for the two bidders, they'll be starting at
Same
6:30.
thing, yeah, 6:30 or 7 or
But
whatever.
there
Right,
is,
whatever time of year
Yeah.
it is.
but there's also, as you read in there, isn't there a number requirement for each group?
30.
30 for 18 and 15 for 9.
Yeah.
Which is gonna be interesting, because neither one of those.
Either one of the
groups
groups have. right,
That many,
30.
okay,
so.
Well, that's
well, 15, we'll bid on 15.
And that's, so we're not reserving it for the same members every single time. We need to make sure we're being fair to everybody.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like the Sunday leagues, it's same.
But what you
People.
might, what I'm anticipating too, is you might have people that like to play at 6:30 that might wanna go play 9-holes now
Exactly.
instead.
Yep.
That
Right.
might join the other.
Join
league.
the league, right,
Right.
get it up
So
to
it may
the minimum.
change some people's, what they wanna do.
Makes sense.
Any other, further down, it says no league play on holidays, holiday weekends, obviously aeration weeks also,
Yes, thank
or do you
you.
let them play aeration weeks?
They don't play if the golf course is closed.
I know, so that's what I'm saying, so you
Yeah,
can't
That
just-
only
Well,
affects the
obviously,
ladies.
Just one.
Yeah.
It only is gonna affect the ladies because Bass River typically does aeration on Monday, Tuesday, so that affects the ladies, and then they usually aerate, they vary Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so then the men would be playing on just newly aerated.
The league players ride separately in a cart is, I assume that's sort of so that, because now if they do, because of COVID, want to pay to have a private cart,
Yes,
then that's permitted.
Yeah, it's always been,
Pay for the full card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's always been.
Just to further clarify, if three people are walking and one's riding.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's, yeah,
That's different.
yeah, that's.
Yeah, but.
This,
it-
this is
Strictly,
this is in there because everybody thought when COVID,
Yeah,
you know, when we went
Yeah.
from 1 to 2, people still thought they could just take,
Because we were running out of carts.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
it's not gonna happen,
Right, now you can do it, but you have to pay for it,
correct?
double fee. Tax gambling policy.
What did we say there, Dennis? Gambling?
Really, well, it's gonna stay the same as it was last year.
Right.
Basically, protest credit.
So that's why I just wanted, so when it says see attached policy, there is no attached policy.
So we'll put on our policy for, it's all gonna stay with the same way we've been doing it, pro shop merchandise.
Right,
We actually been in communication,
it's on page 2.
we've been in communication with Mass Golf, even with the updates, it's easier for us to run pro shop.
but it is a mass golf mandate or not?
It's a USDA mandate, but it's been changing over the last couple of years. but-
Well, that's what I thought it changed last year, and that's what people were saying.
It's a USGA thing that you can allow up to a certain amount of money to be gambled if you want, but the club actually has the final say. So when we've been talking with Mass
Okay.
Golf and Jesse's been great, and the best way and the cleanest way for us to run is to continue to do it the way we've been doing it with pro shop merchandise credit.
But
You get
this
into
is a little bit
problems.
more broadly. This is a little bit more broadly, though. No gambling is different than pro shop credit for prizes.
Because they're not getting paid cash. Not
Right.
getting paid.
So that's why I say, so I don't see the link. So there's something else behind, if, or is there something else behind it? So people can do casual bets on the side.
Well, people could always do casual bets on the side.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So this implies that you can't, in my mind.
No, it
What the
doesn't.
gambling in there is we've had problems with leagues thinking they can gamble and not follow the rules of Yarmouth league play.
Oh, okay, so it's,
There is no gambling. There's, you know, we've had some problems with leagues that think they can do what they want.
With bigger payoffs,
Right.
charging
So-
$10 a session
So-
for play and then getting cash payout.
So does this have to do with the field days for the 60s?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
The gambling thing, does that have to do with the field days? 60 group?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
You can't give cash, that's prizes, it has to go to first.
If you make it say all league prize money must be in the form of pro shop credits.
That would-
Instead of just
that's-
saying all league money, just make it say all league prize money.
mhm.
Good idea, Ted.
And then just say no cash payouts are allowed.
And you don't need an attached policy.
Right.
We should attach our policy
We
anyways.
should
because
attach
Well,
it.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You should definitely
Attach the policy
with whatever it says.
and make it state that it's with the recommendation of Mass Golf or whatever. So it looks like it's
Yeah.
a little more clout than just,
Us. The league credits may only be used for pro shop merchandise. May not be used for restaurants or gift cards. It's not and gift or gift
Well, wait a
cards.
minute, look at the next item, payments to the way that that's phrased, to me, seems pretty unclear. You're not really saying that that you're requiring a reservation fee. That's basically what it is. There's a $4 fee for a reserved time as for a league. So if you rephrase it to say payments to reserve a league tee time are as follows, then people will know what they're paying that $4 for, or that $2. And then don't those $4 and $2 payments go into their credit accounts?
That's correct.
Yes.
But it doesn't say that here. So you need to put in something to the effect of payment of league reservation fees must be made in the pro shop by noon on the Friday before the scheduled league event. League reservation fees will be deposited in each league member's credit account as
Oh,
pro
No.
shop
It goes
credit.
into the league account.
not
Oh,
the
all right,
members.
Then say into the league account, but but put down what it is and where it goes. Otherwise, some people are going to think we're keeping it, which would be justified, but
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I do.
Right.
so that they know that it's going into the league account, and then that's money that the league uses for whatever purpose it has, defraying.
Yeah, all money goes to the league account, and then the winners are given to Becky or Dennis, and then we divide it into the winner accounts. But it all goes into the league from the start.
Just to back up to the item about members may only play in one league. Because we were talking about the prospect or the potential to get those Sunday leagues up to 15.
Well, now
Would there
there's only
really be
one
a problem
there's only
if
one
somebody
Sunday
was-
league.
1 minute, Ted.
Would there really be a problem if somebody was playing on the 18-hole, men's on Wednesday and then the 9-hole Sunday?
Isn't it more the case that we don't want, if they can't get 15 members, they shouldn't be booking a time?
Yes, but I'm saying if,
Well, the reason it was done this way is so somebody doesn't get given tee times multiple times during the week. So if they play multiple groups, they're not calling in for tee time, they're going to throw it in.
there's only 2 groups available, an 18-hole and a 9-hole.
Right,
Not on Sunday.
And then, well, there's 2, isn't there only one group on Sunday?
there's gonna be one group on Sunday.
Right.
There was
There's only one group on Sunday. Presently, there are 3.
Oh,
But
so
one of
maybe,
them-
One already
One already
disbanded,
disbanded.
Standard.
and one didn't have a lot of people
Oh,
in
so
it.
maybe they'll merge. then.
That's-
So
yeah.
we're forcing them to merge into one
Okay.
group.
Alright.
But be surprised to see many of those groups won't play now, they can't get tee times on Sundays.
And that's all right too.
That's
It's,
okay. That's equitable golf.
it's not that we're taking it away.
Yeah, no, on the weekends, I just can't see it. So I think it's a good compromise.
On pace
Yeah.
of play, what are the consequences for missing the pace of play requirements? You list all the things how to stay on time, but what happens if you have, we all know who it is.
Yeah,
Page 2.
yeah, on the next page.
On the next page.
Well, the first sentence of that, maybe you should make it more clear that the expectation is that each league group will play 18 holes in 4 hours or less. Okay. And 9 holes in 2 hours or less.
So
The way it's
basically-
phrased, it's not really clear. It says the group. What's the original language? It just says the expectation is to play 18 holes in 4 hours or less. Somebody could think that you're talking about the whole, getting the whole, 50, 72 guys off in 4 hours. That isn't going to happen.
I think one of the things that we used to do in Harwich is we actually, if we got a habitual offender, we would, the person that done it once, they would be, or 2 times, the second time, they would get moved to the end of the group, automatic. And then if it happened again, then they were suspended from the league for 2 weeks. So we had a policy set up that way, just to make sure that,
Well, and I guess the other part, by definition, if you're asked to pick up, obviously you cannot participate in the tail,
right, because that would,
because you basically can't finish the round.
That's right.
I don't know if you, again, there are
Yeah.
some pretty good consequences in there, but it doesn't pop up.
Well, the first time somebody is told that they can't get a prize because they were forced to pick up and couldn't finish a hole, if you don't explain that to them in advance, you're going to have,
Yeah, we don't want the Rangers sort of, or the management getting kicked in the head.
Yeah, we'll just put it in the policy.
Yep.
Yeah. The part at the end where you say, most importantly, keep up with the group in front of you. If you just say, underneath that, that Rangers will enforce the Yarmouth Golf pace of play policy. A copy of the policy is attached below. You can save yourself from putting all that in there. It is the Yarmouth policy, so just tell them that the Rangers are going to be out there enforcing it. And then if you want to add that could impact your ability to qualify for prizes on completion of your round.
You should just write it and pass it on.
And he has been known to do that.
Yes.
I'll send you a copy of the Word file I made of this thing.
Dropbox.
Thanks, Ted. All right, I think we're down to members' concerns. I have, my first one is, how many tournaments do we have? Do we have any engaged for this year already? And we know we don't have any extra facilities, so are we gonna look into a tent or anything for this year?
You're talking about outside tournaments?
Yeah. Yes, or major tournaments or whatever, that we would use some kind of a,
So we have the Top Shot Invitational again, scheduled in May, and there will be a tent on site for that. That, I think that's grown to 200 and something people now, right now.
oh,
Wow.
It's gonna use, they're gonna use the links course as well.
Be two separate events, one on the links for 9 holes and 18 holes.
So that's a good day there.
yeah,
It's for a couple of veteran charities. It's a very good success last year. They've already talked about expanding it, so they're gonna do like a 9-hole event on the links course for pretty much everybody's helping out so they can play and then still help out. So they'll start a little later and obviously finish out earlier. And then we'll put the tent on driving range for the event afterwards. So we have that one in May. We have a couple of mass golf events again this year as a junior qualifier. A couple others that we signed up for again to host. That's good there. I think they're in the same day again, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be the junior tournaments on the links course, June 24th, and then the mid-amateur qualifier.
Both on this.
well, the same one as last year.
Oh, the mid-am again?
It's the qualifier this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But still be a lot of good players, and they're gonna be playing 18 holes, and then the junior.
Will be on the links.
Qualifier is gonna be on the links at the same time, same day.
Are we the only course on the Cape that does that?
No, there's other courses that host mass golf events. We're fortunate enough that they really like us and like using our facility, which is great.
We have the distance too, right? The length.
Yeah. We
It's
have,
because the ladies who helped with the bags last year.
but you know, we have a great
Let me know if you
great
want.
relationship with them, so
We'll get our shirts back out.
That was awesome.
they really appreciate everything we do for them, and so they're always trying to get us something. And hopefully another big one will come our way in the next couple of years. But we generally host a few junior events throughout the year anyways. I think there's a couple New England PGAs scheduled already.
Doing the PGA, Cape Cod PGA.
So well, there's quite a few events, and then Dennis and Becky finalized the tournament schedule to send over to them for the members. I don't know if you got anything back. My phone hasn't blown up yet, so.
No, he was okay with it.
Hey, all right,
So
so
we're good to go with that. So we'll be putting them.
we combined a couple tournaments this year to spice them out a little further, and they're kind of getting the same tournament over and over again, so we helped spread that out further apart too, so.
That was gonna be posted somewhere?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
We just finished it like 2 days ago, so.
Posted on the website?
Let's put it on the newsletter.
Yep.
Is there any private events? Like
Such
the
as
radio station last year?
the radio
That's
station is
that's
part of the Top
that's
Shot.
Okay.
Um,
I got it.
And then because of our, facilities, these guys get a lot of inquiries of doing like 40 people, 30 people.
Nice.
We do a lot of those, so But to continue to do Top Shop and stuff like that, that's where the facility would come in to go down that path and continue. But without a facility, it's very hard to get into that game.
So would it be feasible to take that second chipping? The putting green up there on Bayberry and make it so that we can put a tent there for other tournaments?
Yeah, so they're going on the Dratton Range. It's so big, we're gonna put it on the Dratton.
Yeah,
Range
but
too.
for a normal one, I mean,
We,
that's-
yeah, we really don't want to use the putting green for that. That would be if we leveled that area, we could do something, but we could put it on, like I said, the Dratton Range tee for now is what.
and is Shea Hospitality going to be doing this tent?
They'll be doing food portion. The tent is actually on Top Shot. They're gonna bring all that stuff in.
Okay,
It's not
but-
associated with us. We'll obviously have to set it up with them.
Yeah.
Get it all, mark everything so that they won't hit anything.
but they're okay with the fact that they're gonna have to transport or
Yep, this
whatever.
is all already been discussed, and I think they're working with them on a menu now, but it's the only way they can function with that many people. So that's why it's nice to, and I reached out to Cal again, see where we're at with the car barn area. Be nice to have a facility in the future to host some of these events. And if we did have a facility, they would actually work both ways, because the bigger mass golf events would come our way, because we have a facility to support people.
That's the market analysis that we're talking.
That's what we need to get going with the market
And then one other
analysis.
thing I'd like to throw into, something we had done when I was in Cranberry Valley, we did a thing for veterans, that was through a home-based program. We had soldiers who were PTSD survivors that came down. We treated them and their families to a day of golf lessons, let them go play. We had veterans who were members play with them. And it was a day we kept basically donated time and it was a pretty big success for us over the years. And it was a nice thing
I
to
was gonna
do.
say that's definitely, that's the PR piece of it too.
Yeah, and it's just,
Yeah.
it was a really good thing, because a lot of them, it was tough to get, to be honest, but it was really a rewarding
That's fantastic.
program to do. So I'd like to get into that. Going forward, last couple of years have been tough with COVID to try to get through things like that. That's something I want to get for probably into the fall.
Nice.
It's a better time to do it, but
Well, maybe that rolls right into what do we want to do for Memorial for Dick? Do we want to do a tournament? Do we want to, does the GEC want to just do a planting somewhere? Do we want to, what, anybody got any suggestions as to what they'd like done?
I know we're talking to a lot of the maintenance guys that are really close to him. I think they're in support of a tournament as well, to honor his memory and to bring something. He was very into biking and things of that nature. So if we could donate some money, raise some money, donate off to some kind of bike thing, kids for bikes, whatever he was very into. That would be a very nice thing to.
Like bike trails or something, maybe even get his name on the bike trail.
did you do anything like Pam's challenge or anything?
I'm not sure. I think he did at one point, but I mean, he was guys that just bike 50 miles a day just because he loved it.
Yeah.
So
Does the trail go all the way around the course, that walking trail?
it goes all the way through it and
Okay.
stops and goes.
Could you name that section? Is it bike or?
It's actually owned by the state.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
I'm not sure. But
Yeah,
something like that, and I can continue to talk to these guys on what they seem as a good fit.
to him, be good for, yeah.
Yeah, no, they had a similar situation in Dennis where one of the, a much beloved, member of the, maintenance staff and, so one of the member tournaments during the year is actually named now in his honor. If you think about tournament schedule, that might be another way of.
Right, and that's something we could do as well.
Just name it, and then is it against some laws or something if we have a contribution jar or something that would do something? like Kids for Bikes or something?
I don't believe so, but
What is, oh, there's obituaries.
Check.
Yeah, but if we had a memorial tournament in his name and then just had something there for a donation for Kids for Bikes in his name
Right,
or
you could do.
something.
Is there a bike organization in that?
In the
no?
obituary.
In the-
no, it's for, he put in there an animal, I
It was an
think,
an-
Plymouth Animal Shelter or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, it was the animal shelter.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was like his couple big things were animals and, bikes.
Obviously, animals won.
Yep.
It's easier to find a place to donate for.
Makes sense.
But
I don't have a concern, but I have a question, is about the carts being gas. Is there any future thought about going electric? Or am I?
Oh, yeah, there's that.
I thought, okay. Solar,
there's a thought for everything. It's about
alright,
it's done in this slow moving environment we're in.
And there was effort, there was thoughts of even making the parking lot faster into a solar panel array area type thing. We talked about that when wastewater looked like it might. So, but
yeah,
it kind of everything got put on hold.
but if you're talking cart barn, to convert that into a building, I would think the cart barn would follow down the hill or something, if you're looking at that, and that's due south. So that roof could be a collector, and if your cart barn's there, you're basically.
Yeah, the big issue is really sort of the cost of the electrical service or to set that up. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta
you could
bring
spend
in,
like,
we gotta bring in the enough power to sustain the cars
it's
charging.
like $250,000 price tag.
Yeah,
Is it?
well, is that what Cranberry did?
By mistake, yeah.
Yeah, they forgot the power
I
part of
wasn't
the
there. though,
process.
so- It's only a
The switch doesn't work.
Forgot the power.
But yeah, that's something we don't obviously want to do. And it kind of makes the whole cart barn area the part of the thing we wanted to do electric. This is the way to bring it in.
Exactly, I'm just
We
thinking,
can't put gas underneath any part of a building, so.
right, so it's all.
So it works out for everything, and that's certainly a way where we want to go,
Got
eventually get out, away from gas.
That's why I bring it up, only that has to be long-term planning.
I have a question. Scott, you had to go in front of the finance committee last week. I tried to watch it, but I couldn't find any videos, so I just wondered how that went.
I couldn't either.
No questions.
Somebody mentioned that.
It went actually pretty smoothly. Generally, when I go in front of them, usually towards the end, and everybody else gets beat up, and get to go through pretty quickly, so.
It was late. They said, let's just get,
Yeah.
let's forget the rest of the questions.
They wanted to get done. And,
They had no questions, but
it's actually kind of hard for them to understand how we operate, so, I don't generally get hammered with a lot of questions.
They approved what was there pretty much.
They accepted it, yep. They're actually thrilled to see that money's going back to the town. That's what they like to see, is that the loan went through and we're gonna pay it back. That's what they're under the impression of.
Wait until they find the other piece.
So just out of curiosity, I mean, I had a couple questions on. It's the 22 budget, that's the budget. Now, what is, that's
If you're
what,
looking at FY 22, that's our current budget.
that's the budget, that's not where we are.
That's
Right.
our submitted budget that was approved for FY 22.
And yeah, that was the one that we're like 700 grand ahead of or something. Oh, yeah, that's 21, I don't know. Yeah, that's just exactly what the budget is, it's not the act.
Not the actuals.
So the increase on the budget part from one year to the next is about $500,000.
Now, some of that is because.
Yeah, I actually don't have the budget right in front of me, but it's, can you just look on the date on that?
This one is 12/17.
Okay, so between that and now, they actually, originally in that one, it said $280,000 coming out of my operating budget.
right.
So they actually switched that and pulled it out of retained earnings. So now my budget is actually down $280,000.
Okay.
Either way, the money's coming back to the town, but it makes my budget not look like I went up $600,000 in a year.
And that was one of the questions. It was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, so like 300,000, that almost is a big portion to the town. And you'll see on there, there's another 135,000 in there for capital costs.
Yeah.
That's for Bayberry Maintenance Building and a couple of equipment.
So it did incorporate, I wondered if you.
Yep.
incorporated those
Yeah,
capital
because I have to go through capital budget before finance, and submit in the budget.
and you put it in the regular budget.
Yeah, it's possible a capital budget will kick it out. They won't because we're an enterprise. As long as money's there, they're cool with it. So
They
But-
put in that Bass River thing. It's not in the budget,
what's that?
the Bass River hit.
The
do you
new
mean?
hit, the
Yeah, the new hit.
125, that's in the budget in debt now.
I don't know if everybody heard.
No, they didn't.
Okay, so back in 2015, those who were around in 2015, you may remember the Bass River Grill got redone, the windows were open up on the side that was facing the river.
Okay.
Price tag on that was about $175,000.
I'm not sure the total price, like 125 came in through debt to me.
Right. So it appears that perhaps somebody forgot to process that payment. And so the finance department is proposing to go back to 2015 and turn that into a debt service now.
The 50,000?
So they want.
No, the 125,000.
125,000.
So they want the enterprise fund to basically pay it.
Right.
Yes.
Well, we would have had to pay it anyways. It was an article for golf back in 2015. It was just interesting. We're paying it 6 years later.
It's like everybody
7 years later.
forgot about it.
Either way, we have to pay it. I'm in talks with finance or treasurers right now, whether we can pay it off one shot and just get done. But
Yeah.
it was surprising to me because I asked, one of the questions I got preloaded with on finance was our debt number. So I made sure I was right in the debt number. My debt number was off to theirs. So I asked why it's off. So they finally sent me the two and I'm like,
So-
what is this $125,000? So, I'd rather just pay it off and be done with it so we don't pay interest on it, but
Is that the
I
22,
might not be able to do that.
is that 22 or 23?
23.
That's 23.
So under debt service, then it was 317 in the budget this year. Next year it's 185. Is that because we finished paying off one of those? loans?
Yeah, so right now,
Irrigation.
Yeah.
last month, we paid off the last payment to the Bayberry irrigation system. So that's all done now. So the two debts we have running are the Bayberry project and that $125,000.
And that hit to water is on overhead or?
What's the charge, what's the town charge you for interest?
So we actually got a really good deal.
Yeah.
On the debt is about just over 1% for the
Oh, okay,
Bayberry
so
project.
they're not upcharging you.
No, it's, what they do is they bundle that service.
Yeah, put out a bond. Yeah.
Yes.
So are you actually receiving any rent money for the concession stands?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what is in your budget then?
Right, so if you see,
Yeah, it's like 7,000 something
10
dollars.
million.
yeah, so you'll see
14 grand total or something.
miscellaneous revenue.
Actually, so you may want to hand that out to everybody.
No, I've got,
There's a,
No, this is
this is the
actuals.
this is the,
Oh, you got a
through
hard
for
copy.
the end of
Yeah, December.
December.
Oh, that's the first 6 months. I got a whole 6 months.
Right.
Mhm.
everybody got one?
And this is front load, so you end up on, from a comparison standpoint, as our peak season is at the beginning of the period, this sort of, you get a bunch of front loaded expenses now. So seasonal salaries, for example, are going to be higher because everybody was working.
Yeah, that was one of my other questions. I know that it shows the full-time salary, full-time wages are going up and stuff, but the whole concern about being able to get people.
Yeah.
Is there anything being done to try to help you in that regard? I mean, whether it's wages or whatever?
Yeah, so I've been through personnel board now. With the whole reorg, if you want to call it golf, they were very supportive of it. So waiting final sign off from Bill, which should take no longer than tomorrow to get that done. in the personnel board meeting, I actually brought my seasonal rates to them and adjusted those with the current market. So we upped those as well to help hopefully attract more people. The thing we noticed is maintenance is very struggling to get people. It's more labor intensive, and
You have to work at the crack of dawn.
hopefully we can cite some more people to do that with the higher wages we got now. For full-time, obviously we just unexpectedly lost somebody. So that doesn't help get anything done out there. But we will have to replace that position.
Do you think you can do it at the current rate? Just
With the full-time rates are pretty good at this. The seasonals are much more in line with surrounding courses or landscape, so hopefully attract some people there. And we did that last year and this year to continue with the times. Before that, we were super low, and that was a big problem, but
And
we are not the only ones struggling by all means. It's everybody, it's not just us. But you know,
it's every
Becky and Dennis
department,
are
isn't
doing
it?
pretty well on their side. They seem to get starters and rangers pretty decent because it's more retirees and not as labor intensive, but
Yeah.
that I mean, it's a real struggle, and it's unfortunate because then we struggle to get a lot of things done.
Landscape companies and.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully something changes soon, but we can only do so much and entice people with what we got. And
Are we advertising at all?
now that it's finalized, we can. After that, so we'll start doing all that and getting it ready to go.
There's a host of issues down here in the Cape, man. It's not getting any better.
Yeah.
With,
The biggest problem is like the maintenance then, like a lot of the reason that I got into this business, I did it when I was a kid,
Mhm.
you know, 16, 17, 18 years old doing it. And down here, it's very hard to find kids that want to do it, or if they're, you can't house them. We have nowhere to house people.
I was gonna say, housing is a big issue.
It's very expensive, obviously, to live down here. And then last year we got really hit hard with no J1s. We usually get help that way. Because they want to work in the restaurant industry down here, but the rest of the time they work for us because they just want to work. So hopefully that shifts a little bit next year and we get more of those.
It's open.
I was gonna say, they
It
made
is.
some changes to that, right?
It is open. But they need to have a spot somewhere else before we can hire them because we don't offer any housing for them.
I was gonna say, and they need housing, which is another challenge. 'Cause
Right.
That came to the board that I'm on, or one of the things we're talking about, it's like just allowing hotels to open up rooms if they want to for more than just their own personnel.
Right, so as long as they get some housing somewhere, they generally find us pretty quickly to come and work for us because it's just a totally opposite time that they're doing the restaurant, so.
Yeah, housing's a
Hopefully that helps us out.
Thanks.
To go back to, you get all these groups in of 30, 40, 50, and obviously it's good for the bottom line and stuff. But what about pace of play for them? I mean, I played behind a group last year, 5 hours and 15 minutes. I know you don't want to turn them off. You want them coming back, but.
But generally, I'd say, at least my experience is, the groups that you really, I mean, there's some groups that do slow, but the groups that play work.
Yeah, I gotta defer to these guys about that.
And it might be the type of group, it was younger guys.
Say
probably in their
juniors.
Well, no,
mid-thirties.
Rangers they're telling people to move. We had a lot of.
Right, but they were unsuccessful, that's all I'm saying.
It's, well, one of the problems is the attitude of some of the people nowadays. is a
Yeah,
lot
I know,
different than it used to be.
Exactly.
So we actually had a couple groups we actually removed from Mayberry last year. Refunded and got off the golf course.
Yeah.
Which is really extreme.
Oh,
but-
yeah, and you hate to lose the revenue.
Yeah, but what happens nowadays, a lot of times when Rangers talk to them, they just go, yeah. They laugh at them and
Right.
it's not easy, so.
It's a really hard job.
and it's much
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah,
I think
that's a
overall,
great
most
job.
people are pretty
Pretty
good, if you
good
say to pick
yeah,
up the
pick
pace,
up and-
they do.
yeah.
No, I've heard, my rangers say, okay, they picked it up, we're good, we're in good shape now, but every now and then, get the group that's gonna be ornery and
Well,
there's really.
well, most of these groups that come down take carts and we do have the GPSs back and
Oh, yeah, oh, I know,
Yeah, you
yeah,
So we'll
we
know.
can alert
you know.
repeatedly.
My theory is though, there's a lot of new players from COVID.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
And none of them know golf etiquette, they don't know anything about golf.
Yeah.
right.
And so to them, if you ask them, what are you talking? They don't even know what,
I don't think they understand that you don't wait till the person gets right up on your back to say you gotta pick up the ball.
there's a lot of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
Yeah, here you park,
Right,
where
They
you
don't,
park
they don't
your
know where to
car,
park
yeah.
cars and all that.
On the green, you park it.
Exactly. Drive another speed off.
Drive it on across the.
To your point, though, we made some pretty good initiatives to improve the pace of play at both facilities. There are certain days where it might not move as fast as we want it to, but usually that's due to a very, very busy golf course, and unfortunately, it does take one or two groups to slow it up for the day until we can catch it up.
What do we have?
Takes one golfer.
But we did move the tee times apart.
Right, yeah.
We've done a lot to help out that issue. We knew it was a very big problem. And having the GPS back will help us continue to monitor. Now the ranger will know directly where to go.
Oh, yeah, they know
We
what
can
time
alert
to
the
start.
cart right from the pro shots and, move it along.
Well, they have on the iPad, they can see the pace of
Right.
play.
Oh, no, I
They
know.
exactly
Right.
where to
No, no,
go.
I've had Frank come out and say to me,
So we're gonna continue to monitor and keep it up. Once we keep going the right way, we want to be in that
That might be-
4.5 hour range.
Ellen?
Yeah.
Newsletter, that might be a good thing about newsletter, commitment to the pace of play and the tools that are now available. Right?
But it's outside people.
But again, so what you're trying to do is say, here's the tool, we have the tools.
Right, but those outside people are still under the same rules.
Same rules, yes, right.
Their cards still have the GPS now,
Right.
their card will still
It's
be.
not a bad thing
paying
to
Yeah, the
mention
GPS is
anyways
telling
for
them.
the
what
leagues.
they-
Yeah.
We'll be
It
telling
might be
them
good
as well, if you're way behind, you need to pick it up.
Which was my next topic, subject for the next newsletter or whatever. Anybody got any suggestions other than updates for the buddy system? And
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the number one thing is, the Chelsea, or not Chelsea, the, club profit, logging in, setting up your buddy list, that's number one. Recruiting for seasonal turf, so if you know anybody, please let us know.
If you know anybody, please let us know.
Right, so hopefully by this point, the next thing would be the 2022 fee approval, the new Twilight Pass option. The Bass River damage restoration plan. The 2022 cart GPS pace of play tools. And I think another one might be, because it sounds like email receipt is something of an issue, is an issue.
Well, I mean,
I think it's been,
We've been, so it's been addressed, because, okay, so I think that's
We
sort
said
of,
it last week.
Okay, so that-
Let's give it a month. and see
Give it a
how
month.
goes.
the other thing is like, if people are not receiving emails, we need to know that specific person
right,
so that we can look what's going on. So if you have a friend that's not giving, or a fellow member that's not getting emails, please send it to these guys so that we can look to see what's
That's-
going on.
ask your buddies, that's what
okay.
I've been doing,
Okay,
asking
so-
my friends.
You
that
just,
did you
if
get
you
the
just tell us
newsletter?
that you're not getting emails, it doesn't really help us solve the situation.
so, but that would be the thing for the newsletter. Right, we want to get 100%, we want to have it 100%, and if you know of anybody, here's what to do.
Like if you know of someone not receiving this email, please have them contact the pro shop or something so that we can actually look into what's going on.
The funny thing about saying that is, I don't know, I even didn't get it.
Well, so, but.
Yeah, but
Right, but a friend of yours wouldn't have got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
blacklist.
Well, actually, when I went to dinner last week, he said,
Paul tells me.
if you are not
Didn't you
getting
look at that?
an
I'm like, no.
email, make a list of everybody who's not getting an email, and then you can give me the list, and then I'll go and figure out why. they're not getting
But we need to know who's
Right.
actually.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. So-
Right.
When does the email come out?
So that would be the other thing, by the way, is in the newsletter, say, we sent out emails on this date, this date, and this date. The last three were these
Yeah, we can
dates.
give you when we send them all out. The last couple.
They come from two places, right? They come from well, I don't know if club profit, but the internal system, and then they come from the marketing firm. There's two different places they come from, correct?
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Well, the tea times will come from club profit, but the other ones are
Right.
from the marketing.
Okay, I get the
But
tea
lots
times,
of
but I don't get
marketing,
the marketing.
don't they? Yeah,
One-to-one marketing.
yeah.
Yeah, if I have a tea time, it's come fine, but when it comes to the marketing stuff, I don't get it. And, we've talked about that.
And I think the other thing is that new pop-up screen that you guys were using. That's again, a new feature, which is, just-in-time information. So that's another good thing to talk about. Again, it's all about communication.
Sure. Any course improvements?
Right.
We got a nice sinkhole at Bass River.
Okay.
No, that's not the kind of.
Right.
We could charge for swimming pools?
Um,
For
Dennis
course improvements, we do have a few things on the way. Bass River we're hopefully fixing the safety issue on the 15 now.
15.
We're gonna build 2 tee boxes, move them up, so the ladies tee will be pretty far up and the white tee will be pretty far up, all towards the left of the hole. So you can't go right. So if you do hit it right, it's one of the worst golf shots possible, but it's almost, there's literally like impossible. It's not impossible, but
We've seen the impossible.
but yeah, it's about the best thing we can do at this point to solve that problem as much as we can. Can't obviously solve it for good, but at least try to hopefully get 90% of the balls out of that area. So that's underway at Bass River.
You were 15, you worried about the woods or the people's houses?
Peaceful houses.
And you don't want the ball landing in there.
Dennis and I were over
Right.
there in the summer, and the ball actually came over our head in the. So we're pretty understanding to what the guys.
I was trying to get workman's comp, but I missed it.
I tell you what's there.
And this may not be the next newsletter, but the tournament schedule.
I got the, tournament list, and I think that's a nice thing. Can't we take one of the existing home tournaments and rename it for him?
Right. So that would be the other thing would be in memory of.
Do they have a way that they name them, or they just name them at whim?
No, they had named them.
The Humans Cup is for the ones. The She's actually was a Mr. She, the commissioners. I don't know the commissioners. But I know who would know the answer to that. So. And then we have the
I just
club
had a day.
championship, we got the Dawn Day, we got the club championships, we've got the member best, we've got the team championship, and we've got one more.
There's a Humans Cup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's the first. Team championship.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's the best. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the best.
that's the best one. Oh, and then it's the
I think we should-
match play is the other
No, I
one,
think
match
we should
play.
do it on the
It could be
top,
one.
away from those, everything.
And then,
That's gonna open up some.
Yeah.
The regular tournament players.
and then remembering Dick.
I just don't want it to fade away and not
Nope.
No,
do it.
Yeah.
So remembrance of Dick, what he was,
Yes.
what he meant to the course.
Yes,
So we did send a. I think
yeah, you
out.
did send one out on
So,
that. Yes, that was a
Hopefully you
good
received
one.
it. If not, please let us know.
I did.
If anybody does want to go to the service and funerals, it's
21st.
tomorrow
No,
is
it's
the service, and funerals on Saturday.
in Plymouth.
Yeah. So,
And then
Okay, so
the
this-
last thing I had is just, where are we with the links? We had the scope out for the project, right?
we're at with the links we're at another wonderful procurement standstill right now.
Oh, I love it.
Figure out if we have to go out to bid for DHTs, CDM Smith's work for the permits.
That we always use.
We do, it's not legally required that we would have to do that.
So then why what's
When
gonna,
I asked Jeff, he said that when Dan Knappich was here, he required it, but I asked Bob on Friday through email whether he's requiring or not. He just hasn't come back yet, so hopefully we don't have to, because they actually do oversee the post closure of the link, so it would be all easier for everyone involved if they just did the work. But if they're doing the work and we agree to that, we can move forward. They'll do all the permitting for us. Which even if we're doing the work in the next year or two, we want them to do the permitting now. Tim is working full head of steam on his end. He's almost to the point of a standstill where we need the permitting to go through, and then he can start working on a bid type deal of putting it out to bid.
So that would be a newsletter.
But not
he
yet.
and Dave.
But by
need
the
to work
time,
together.
by the time it gets to, hopefully by the time the newsletter gets written,
Yep,
we will have that.
But before any of this can happen.
it has to go to town meeting, doesn't it?
Yeah, but we can't even get to that point yet, because we need to do the test bits on the links to confirm a few things, which is part of the CDM Smith is procurement thing. So once we get answers to that,
Garbage stuff.
we can,
That's probably why we have to do the test permits.
You can't puncture the membrane.
so yeah, so the link scores obviously has a membrane underneath, and we need to dig down to confirm its location in a few spots.
Got it,
So that to satisfy Mass DEP that we're not gonna touch the liner.
got it, makes sense.
They would need to be on site. CDM Smith needs to be on site, and the engineer needs to be on site as well, but we need to, it's part of their work to get that done so that we can do all this work, and then hopefully in March or April, we can dig the test pits, confirm it where they want them to dig down, and then we can go through the permitting process, letting them know that we're not ever gonna touch the liner. Clearly, they're never gonna sign off on the work if we're gonna touch a liner.
Yeah.
So that's the first step. Once we get that done, it's almost clear sailing, because they were never really part, when we had the initial DEP meetings, they didn't really seem too concerned about anything with the permitting process, as long as we confirmed that the liner wouldn't be touched.
Are you gonna keep the links open while doing the construction?
Yes and no, depending on when the work happens. If it happens in the off season, then obviously not. If it happens during the season, we'll try to come up with a plan that we can open on the busier days. But the goal is to try to do that work in the summer season when these companies are off early, and we can get it done as quick as possible.
Right, so it's a trade-off.
So when we have the other 18 to support, and obviously we have to figure out links members going somewhere else during that time, which is not a problem, but we just need to work out all those kinks.
So Scott, given the whole wastewater issue, are you stuck with just doing patchwork repairs at Bass River until it's fully resolved?
Yeah, so Bass River is very interesting. We all know there's a lot of issues over Bass River. A point where there's not a whole lot I can do on my end that's gonna satisfy any of the problems over there. I can certainly build you a tee box, but I can build you 1 or 2 tee boxes a year. And all of them need to be redone. So, same thing with a bunker. I can build you 1 or 2 a year, but all of them need to be redone. And I can't put a liner in, I can't do any of that, so. And the irrigation system's falling apart. It's just, all of it needs to be redone at once. So we're just kind of in a holding pattern, and I've talked to Dave Young a few times. He's in agreement. I believe Jess in agreement. Bass River still needs to be done no matter what. There's not enough storage over at Buck Island for the wastewater, even in Yarmouth's alone plan. So we need to just come together as a group and let everybody know we still need to move forward as quick as possible. Because we have all these things lining up at Bass River, and we don't want to do any work and then have it undone.
Throwing money away.
Right.
When do you think you'll start that process for bringing the right people?
I don't know at this point. Right, it's like Ellen said, they owe us an answer on what they're thinking, and then we
That's
need to kind of come back with, here's what we're thinking, because all this needs to
And
be
there's
done.
no time frame from them as far as when? Who's them, by the way?
Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen, they said it might be 10 years.
Oh, geez,
But we
The Bass
obviously
River.
want to move a lot quicker.
Yes.
We could not wait that long.
crazy.
But
Wastewater.
they might not know how severe the problem is over there, and either way, it needs to happen. over
That's why I was wondering, how are we gonna communicate that to them so they know that?
So we
engineer
need to-
do that.
Well, I don't think they care how bad the Bass River is. As
They
far as the
should
golf course, they care about their wastewater and
Right, so they need to know it's going to be probably more feasible, and cheaper to do it now rather than in 10 years.
That's my point.
So, and we need to line them up saying, we want to do this work now rather than 10 years because we need to do it in 5 years, or 3 years. We can't wait 10 years. So we need it, we don't want to double
We
up.
want to do it twice.
Right.
Down to it.
Exactly.
That's the message they need to hear.
We don't want to do it, we don't want to double it.
so
We have
it's,
to invest millions of dollars ourselves. You need to invest millions of dollars. We want to do this all at once.
so it's part of the next presentation, we have to do the Board of Selectmen for the increase. Can we just say, as an aside, we need to let you know that the Bass River cannot wait 10 years?
Yeah, I would say,
I think we have to, I know, but we need to a
yeah, I would
reminder.
say,
They have to
let it play
remember.
out in the fee increase, you can definitely do that, like, here's a reminder that we do need an answer here, because we can't wait the
Right.
10 years that you're thinking.
Yeah, I
We're
think we
hoping
have to
come
keep
agreement within the 5
Reminding them of
years.
that.
Let's get this done.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go full head of steam on Bayberry to get that one ready, so that we can shut down
Bass River.
Bass River effectively and be ready to go with Bayberry.
I thought there was other drivers to that equation where the ecosystem had to,
Well, DHT, it was DHY agreement and it all fell apart.
Yarmouth said,
And
you know, we
Yarmouth said
can't
we're
wait.
going full out of steam, so,
yeah, I get that part, but even so.
but I guess there's some talk in the background that they would eventually join. So if that's the case, even more so, Bass River is needed, even more so. So either way, it's needed, and we just need to let them know that we need to go quicker than waiting it out, because we can't wait out that amount of time.
Okay,
All right, next meeting,
it tentatively said the next meeting would be February 14th, which was Valentine's Day.
it's not a problem for me, but
Andy,
Okay.
right,
is it a problem for anybody?
you gonna be early?
Scott, is it a
Yes.
problem? for you?
No, not a problem for me.
So I go out to dinner, take my.
Yeah, that's,
out for-
I might have a problem.
Well, we can make it early.
Yeah.
Is that still,
I
if
thought
we do
we're
it
still
at 3
going early,
o'clock?
right?
It makes sense.
So you'll be home for dinner.
Huh?
Can go out.
That's right,
Bring the roses or whatever.
right, champagne.
All right. That's still at 3 o'clock. Do we need additional training? Any?
So. Okay, for the, Dick, Bill, and Doreen.
Yes,
I
Question?
sent you a whole bunch of informational things.
Yep.
Is there a specific area that you would like some additional
Yeah,
focus
that's-
on?
The only question I had, which maybe Scott has already passed, it was of the recommendations that came out.
The National Golf Foundation.
Where we at on those recommendations? And I heard in passing just now that Scott pretty far along, so maybe
Yeah.
that answers it. I just wondered if there was anything that was.
Yeah, we could quickly go through that.
What haven't we done? Is there anything?
Everything but the
Cart-
carts.
Cart-
The only
yeah,
thing.
fees.
Cart fee was recommended that we go up above the 5%. And we even got full justification, we could do that because it's not part of the membership category, but last year the board was not supportive of that, so we had to go within the 5%. But
With the price of gas, I think that
so we did the whole restructure of the membership, which is one of the recommendations. We've done the POS system, which one of the recommendations. Bring out the tea time,
Bring out the tea time.
outsource the restaurant.
Yeah, so
So I think we've almost hit just about everything on that list at this point.
The one was, maybe we trusted was the create a plan to fund needed capital improvements. Was that?
That's-
You would say is completed?
Yep.
Yeah, mhm. You did that?
If, if town director of golf 440.
Yep, that's-
No,
That's a lot better than it used to
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Right, yeah. Got everybody's attention.
anything else?
That was all I had.
All right, then I don't think we need it 2 o'clock. We'll just go for 3 o'clock
Good, good.
on the 14th.
Right.
Okay,
And if any of you have any specific questions that you would like me to go through specifically individually with you, let me know.
Okay, yeah, so I'll be back on East Coast time by then, so that works.
Excellent. Okay,
Oh, I have to do a roll call to get out of the meeting. Okay, back to the roll call.
so this is a motion to adjourn, seconded.
Seconded.
Right.
Roll call vote to-
Ted.
Let's get out of here.
Frank,
Yes.
Jay,
Aye.
Yeah.
Andrew,
Aye.
Doreen,
Bye.
And Richard, yes,
and Richard.
and you.
And I also agree.
Okay.
Adjourned.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
By the way.
Can I go